ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the TSG Live Call-In Show. I'm your host, John, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hello, Michelle.
That's who you are. I was trying.
Okay, Michelle, over here.
Trying to remember. So we have a lot to talk about on this show today, and a lot to do. I want to thank everybody for showing up. It's going to be well, hopefully it won't be any longer than our normal 2 hours that we usually do. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So why don't we get started? Well, you have a lot that you've been doing too, though. So
yeah,
if I run out of stuff to talk about, I'm sure that you have plenty to fill in the spaces with. But before we do any of that stuff, I do want to invite everybody to call in if they want to. The link is in the description of the video. It'll also show up from time to time on our chat. And just remember that, and by the way, it's only to call in if you have something relevant to talk about or a question about maybe some of the things that we're talking about. This isn't one of the sort of open-ended call-in shows where it's just call in for whatever. So just FYI, and just know that you need to be logged into your YouTube account, and you also need to have your camera on. Otherwise, you will not get on. So, yeah, we know why that is, but we're not talking about that. So let me go to the first things first. I want to mention this because this was something that happened kind of right after our last call-in show, which was I got this package from Nathan DeLay, and I knew what it was. I know what's in it. I just haven't opened it yet because I wanted to open it live online. And I thought that this would be a great chance to do that since it's our live show. So I have my webcam here, and I'm going to bring that in, and we're going to do this unboxing of this thing live here. Give me a second. I'm going to try to see how I can make this picture bigger. There we go.
There you go.
So this is something that, well, I've been looking forward to this because I wanted to open it before, but I didn't because I wanted to do the live unboxing. And this is something that you can only get from Nathan. And I think it's really cool. I've seen these before because he's made these for other people, but not this one. That's the cool thing about it. They're all unique that way. So I see that Nathan is on our audience today too. So hi, Nathan, and thanks for coming. And thanks for
a good taper.
Yeah, well, I'm also not really good at opening stuff. You should see me on Christmas. It's even better. Oh, look at this. It even says to TSG, huh? Now, I am going to take this out because it might have information. Oh, no. Okay, no. Oh, it's from Nathan.
Oh, that's
right? And then I'm going to read this myself because there might be personal stuff on here. I've been watching your video since I was little. Oh, this is nice. Thank you. This is really nice. I think I will put this on here. See if you can read this. This is really cool. This is really cool. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Nathan. But this is especially cool. Yeah.
Your favorite color, the special year. I love it. That's great.
Yeah. And, it was a real challenge, too, because Nathan contacted me on Facebook asking me these questions. What's my favorite color and when did I start the YouTube channel? And I couldn't remember when I started the YouTube channel. Luckily, there's a date on every video that you upload. And I checked and it was in 2008, I think. Well, it says 2008 here, so I guess that must be what I told him. And I don't really have a favorite color per se. I'm kind of, well, I was going to say I'm unusual that way. I don't have favorite things really. So
other than you chose green for your logo, your background, your
well, yeah, that's different though. But I realized that green must be my favorite color because my car that I drove for 20 some odd years was green, and my drums that I still have in my garage are almost the same color as the car was. So I guess green must be my favorite color. Anyway, so this is from YouTuber Nathan DeLay. This one's more, oh, look at this. Oh, this is really cool. Check this out. This is the, I guess, the design paper, what he based it on. Can you see this? The blueprint, right?
The blueprint. Okay.
That is cool. And
That's
here,
cool.
here it is. Look at this. You see it in there? We have the locomotive. I'm going to be really careful because I don't want to accidentally break something here. But what I really like about this is, here, let me pull this out. In a way, this kind of makes me think of you, Gary. Gary is sitting in our backstage audience waiting to come on because of what we're going to be talking about. Looks like a little piece came off. I don't know what that is. Or maybe that's just a little piece of something that was in there. But check it out.
That's cool.
It's a little locomotive and some cars. And check it out. TSG. How about that?
That's cool.
That is really cool.
Nathan, that's awesome. What did you use to make that out of? Is it?
He did a video, Michelle.
Oh, did he?
Yes,
Okay.
you can find this on his YouTube channel. And he talks about, I believe it was a piece of aluminum can. Yeah, you can see that this is aluminum in here.
Aluminum. Okay, and then painted it.
Yeah, and then he painted it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it feels like this is covered in some kind of tape that he then painted, probably to take the edges off because aluminum is pretty sharp if you don't. But I want to really thank you. This is something, it's pretty special because this takes time. And, you know, someone could look at it and go, oh, that's not a prototype, you know, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is, I just got to bring him on here because this is really cool. Nathan, yeah, I hate to disappoint. I'm not going to cry or anything like Sparky, but thank you so much. This is one of the things that I need to now build a case for this or something and put it somewhere because that's special. That's really cool. It's a one of a kind, right? I mean, yeah, that is so cool. So I brought you on because you happened to call in. Look, this is really cool. Thank you. Oh, you want to say something? Yeah, say something about it because that's wow.
Oh, I just come on if you have any questions about it.
Oh, well, you can talk about how you built it.
Oh, my mistake. Let's see. Oh, yes. I think I might have built the engine first or the passenger cars. I don't remember, but I basically, if you think of it this way, it's like carving the metal like a U shape, and then I put the I did kind of a similar method, but with the top of the passenger car, and then I folded like a box, and then I put it on top of the U, but the U was upside down.
Okay.
And then I glued it, and then I must have punched the windows in with a screwdriver or something.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. I mean, this is again, it's a one of a kind. There is nobody else in the entire world that has this same model. So thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. My sister actually, I did a TSG the words, but they weren't that good as that. Actually, my sister suggested to redo the TSG in the 2008, so that's her work on that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I see the windows now. I didn't see the windows earlier. I thought maybe they were painted on, but now I see they're open.
Yeah.
That's really neat, Nathan. I like it.
Thanks.
I like it. And if you look, you can see it was a soda can. Just like I said, you can see there's the nutrition information. Your model has
calories off, though. We don't need to know the calories.
I was going to say your model has 200 and something calories, Nathan. But that's okay. I'm not going to eat it. But I will enjoy this. So I really want to thank you for that. And I'm sorry it took about a month to open it.
Oh, that's okay.
But I did want it to be special. And because it's a special thing that you did.
Mm.
So in a way, this reminds me, we did a live video sometime last year, or might have been the year before last, where Gary, who's going to be on here pretty soon when we start talking about our epic trip in a minute, he made trains like this out of paper.
Wow.
And yeah, his were very, oh, what's this?
I have this one that was made out of clay. See if
Nice.
it gets right. Can you see the happy person?
That's cool.
You mean in the cab?
Yeah, in the cab. Can you see the smiley face?
A little, to be honest.
It's like right in there. I don't know if I can get it any closer. So there's a person in there, and they're smiling. And this was a gift to me, and I love it. So it sits on my desk right here.
Was that made by a fan?
It's clay. It's made by a local kid here. So yeah, and they made a whole bunch for a fundraiser, so it was really cool. So this is clay, and then fired, and then so like pottery.
And I have one made out of aluminum.
Yeah, I like the aluminum. I think that's really cool. I used to do stuff out of duct tape. Like, it's amazing what you can make out of duct tape. So, yeah.
Do you know what I like about it is it shows a level of creativity, because I hear people talk all the time, oh, no one builds anything anymore. You built something, and there's a lot of people who would complain about models who wouldn't even go through the trouble to do something like this. So I really respect that a lot, Nathan.
Yeah.
I like
Thank you.
Not to Savvy, but I think there's other people who think like, it might be not done right, but people don't know the actual work that might go into it.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying before. Someone else might look at this and go, oh, it's not prototypical, some rivet counter or something. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's the thought behind it and the intention behind it that counts more than anything else to me. So it's touching to receive something like this. I understand why Dave cried. I really do. Yeah.
Homemade gifts.
Yeah, I was actually shocked how much it meant to him, but I'm glad it means a lot to him.
Yeah, for sure. This is what I'm talking about, Dave. The Scratch Build Club.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much. We have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to let you go now, Nathan. But thank you very much for sending that and coming on to explain how you made it. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, I got one more thing to say.
Oh, okay.
If you want, you can read the letter if you want, or if not, it's up to you.
Yeah, I showed it on screen like this.
Oh, I see.
So thank you for that, too. It's really cool. I'm going to put all of this back into the original box until I can get a proper box or display case for it. And I know someone who can do woodworking like that. I don't know if he does anything this small, but I might ask him if he could build me a little display thing. I could put it up on the wall or something like that. So cool.
Very cool.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. All right. We're going to let you go. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye, Nathan.
Take care. Cool.
That's so cool. I love it.
I really wanted to share that because it's just such an unusual thing, and it's really cool to have something that's someone put that much thought into, that much care into. So I'm just putting it away onto my desk here. So what we were planning to talk about today is the epic trip. And it's really cool because, Michelle, you got to be part of the epic trip.
I did.
Right? As did it. Was that a magic spell being cast on your?
That was my computer. I don't know why it did that.
It sounded like a magic spell, or either that or I'm getting an idea in my brain.
I got an email. Why would it tell me? They just upgraded my computer here, and I'm wondering if there's notifications on that I don't want.
Could be.
Sorry if it happens again. I don't know how to turn it off.
We'll just think of it as a magic spell being cast.
Okay, I'll just go.
Yeah. So let me talk about this epic journey. And I'm going to bring Alvin and Gary in because they were on the epic journey, but I'll bring them on in order. So what happened was on August 18th, I think it was, which was a Wednesday. So exactly 4 weeks ago today, I suppose, I drove out to Gary's place. He's in Sacramento. I'm in the Bay Area. And the idea was we were going to drive out to, well, really the impetus behind the trip was I got invited to the Fremont N. They said it was going to be this world record breaking layout, this likes of which has never been done before. And they were doing this in the Evanston machine shop, which is a facility that used to be a UP facility, but now I think the city of Evanston operates it as kind of like an event center. You probably know more about this than I do, Michelle.
The city of Evanston owns the whole roundhouse and the whole complex with those other outbuildings and community centers.
There you go. So I went to Gary's, and I'll bring him in now. Gary, you're still muted, at least for the moment. Hello. And we got in the car and drove out to Elko that first day. And I have some videos that I can share that were from our trip going out there. Is there anything, Gary, you want to mention before I bring up? I have a video of the Amtrak, the number 5 that we found. Oh, the clicking came on when you unmuted yourself, Gary.
But I've been hearing the clicking all along.
Oh, I wasn't hearing it at all until you unmuted yourself. Yeah.
Me either.
I think it's the phone. I think iPhones do something like that. So maybe in between when you're not talking, you can mute yourself. But anyway, we drove up to Elko on the first day, and the first train action we got was Amtrak train number 5, which was the westbound California Zephyr, right? That was on its way to Emeryville. Or, I mean, I guess the next stop at that point would have been, after Truckee, would have been Roseville, or I think Roseville. So I took a shot of it real quick. And yeah, apparently some of the viewers know about that clicking sound, and it is an iPhone thing apparently. But anyway, let me bring up this video because I thought it was a pretty cool catch. And here we go. Take a look at this. So you can hear the wind noise because it was just taken with a phone. But we went over to the correct side of the track to catch the shot. And it ended up being a pretty good shot, I thought.
Yeah, this is great.
You caught this too, didn't you, Gary, on your phone? He's just going to do that. So we continued east that day. I'm going to see if I can get just a little bit of sound for it. There we go. We continued east that day, and we ended on the way out. We found a bunch of other trains on the line. Not a whole lot, but there were some in Sparks. I think I saw a freight train somewhere up on Donner Pass after this as well. But I think it was a dead day on the line because there really wasn't a lot of train action anywhere else on the line. Like maybe they just sent a few trains through in the morning and then shut down the line after that.
Maintenance away sometimes or whatever. I can answer Sydney's question.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I learned something when I was chasing the big boy in early August. So we're at this stop, and there's this beautiful curve like coming at us. So it would be on this curve, and I saw one of my friends across on the other side of the tracks. So I ran over there. I'm like, hey Nick, there's this awesome curve. If you just come this way, you can see it, like this curve. And he goes, no, Michelle, the sun is on this side. The sun. This is the correct side of the track because the sun. And so I'm like, so sun is greater than curve. He's like, absolutely. So I learned a lesson. Sun is number 1 and everything else is below it. So that's the answer to that question.
Yeah. Now there are times though, if you're trying to be artsy or whatever, where you just
don't have a choice. Sometimes I just don't have a choice. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there have been times when there's no way to get onto the right side of the track or the correct side, whatever you want to call it. So I'll take I'll say this is my artsy sunset shot or silhouette shot or whatever.
Right.
So you make that decision, right? But anyway, to continue with our trip.
That's your story. Sorry.
Yeah, we went on, and I got to mention that all of this is documented in Chasing Trains episodes, and the first one I think comes out this weekend. if I'm not mistaken. I think it's coming out on the 18th, which would be Saturday. We're going to consult the calendar here real quick. Thank you.
Saturday,
Chasing Trains Epic Trip Part 1. So this is going to be covered in more detail on these Chasing Trains episodes, but this is kind of like a preview for the Chasing Trains episodes. But anyway, that evening we got to Elko, and this is what we ended up seeing in Elko. There's a yard there, and let me lower the volume here. There's a yard there in Elko, which actually is pretty busy. It's a fairly busy yard. And we caught a couple of trains pulling into the yard. This is just one of those trains. And again, this is a shot taken with an iPhone. The Chasing Trains video will have shots that were taken with something other than an iPhone. And it's interesting. There are a bunch of comments.
See a train today, other than just Amtrak.
Oh, that's me talking.
You're narrating.
On the video, yeah. Well, it was Chasing Trains, and I do on-site narration a lot of the time during Chasing Trains. So that was the first day going out to Elko.
Looks like a coal train to me.
Oh, yes. That was a big coal drag. I'm not sure, probably headed for Oakland. I know that they send coal out of Oakland. But I was going to mention that there's people mentioning stuff in the comments about rules of thirds and stuff like that. Someone here was saying that.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about, yeah.
I learned my lesson that day. I'm just going to tell you. And you look at my video and you look at his video, and his is fantastic. Mine has a cute little curve, but it's dark.
There are times when it works. Like, for example, if I'm doing a zoomed up shot of a train that does have a really good curve, and the zoomed up part is where the light is on the train, and then when it goes past me closer, it's on the wrong side, I might take that shot just to get that zoomed up shot, because it might be worth it.
But that zoomed shot you said had light.
Yeah, there are times when it makes sense to make that decision. But I can tell you just from personal experience, probably 9 times out of 10 or more, I will go to the lit side of the track just because it looks a lot better. So anyway, let's go on to the second day. So Gary and I stayed in Elko that night, and you'll get a really great example of the view we had out of our hotel window. It was really spectacular. That's on Chasing Trains, though. I'm not going to show you that. There's no spoilers happening here. Just something to look forward to on the Chasing Trains episode. By the way, I should also mention, I don't know if you watched it, Michelle, but it's been available for patrons since last week, the Chasing Trains episode.
Oh, I have not even had time to think.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I watched it.
I'll
go watch it.
I just ripped the earbuds out of my ears inadvertently. So I'm going to find the little cups that go with them so I can stick them back in. But I can do that while I'm playing the next video. So let me find the next video. So the next morning, we woke up, and our goal that day was to get to Salt Lake City because we were going to pick up Alvin in Salt Lake City. And so on our way, let me find my videos here. We came across something called, actually, we didn't do this on the way. We made it all the way to Salt Lake City, and actually we went and Alvin met us at a place called North Yard in Salt Lake City, and that's where this next video comes from, where we were. It was interesting because, let me just open the video. We were out there rail fanning, and there's a train in the background that's a stack train. It was just sitting there the whole time. And I think it was broken down because it was there we were there for probably an hour and a half. And it was there the whole time. So, blocking the crossing, yeah.
So there's probably something wrong with it.
Yes. And what was interesting about it was I kept hearing the low air pressure warning happen. So I'm gonna bring Alvin in because he rode up to us. Hey Alvin, he rode up to us on his unicycle at the crossing there, and that's something else you'll get to see on the Chasing Trains video. It's an interesting video to say the least. But we were joined at that point then by Alvin, and we stayed in Salt Lake City that night. And the video that I mentioned a minute ago was the impetus for the whole trip was going to happen the next day. So we had to get to sleep early that night, but that didn't prevent us from having some legit pizza with our friends Rob and Doug, who are also from the area. And it was really great to see them. And I want to thank you, Alvin, for inviting them over, because that was kind of in a way, an unexpected treat to get to hang out with those guys. And while we were at it, Alvin got all kinds of professional advice for his layout, which is behind him over his right shoulder in the picture there. Yeah. So, Alvin, it's okay if you want to. Yeah.
I'm going to drop out and I'm going to come back on my laptop.
Oh, okay. We'll catch you when you're not popping then. So anyway, Alvin, what was some of the advice you got for your layout?
Oh man, there's a lot to take in.
Professional advice.
I do remember first thing Gary said to me was the next morning, he didn't say good morning. He said, "Oh man, you're gonna have a tunnel." He did one of these. You're gonna have a tunnel, and there's these beams right here above my head. So this wall is a load-bearing wall in my house, and these beams are helping the thing. And my layout is right against it. And they said I should put a bridge about where the level is. And then I'll do a crossover, and then there'll be a tunnel portal on the other side of this beam. And then just put up some fake walls. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
And then I got to put the gussets. After I put in my gussets.
Yeah, don't forget about the gussets.
The gussets. After the gussets, we'll put in some portals, and then that will run around the tunnel, and we'll do a loop-de-loop, and then some switching, and then...
The gussets give you more radius for your curve.
Yeah.
Right? You want to say anything about the gussets, Gary?
It's like going like this instead of like this. You know,
I think you've said enough.
All of the gussets.
Yeah. Anyway, so...
Oh, the popping is gone.
The popping is gone. Now there's an echo.
Uh-oh.
It's going to be one of those streams, but at least it's not me causing the problems.
Maybe I'll have some magic sounds here in a minute, too, just to add.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So anyway, so we got up really early the next morning, and that'll probably fix the echo, Gary. Thank you for he's just trying everything.
Okay, is there an echo now?
There is. It's worse. Yep. It's probably you, Alvin.
Is it me?
It's not me because I got my earbuds in.
I got my earbuds too.
It must be Gary. Gary, do you still have your volume on your phone?
Gary was removed. That Gary was removed from the stream.
But
so
if it's making noise in his room, it'll make that echo.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well,
I have my phone here so I can see live chat, so I can respond.
Okay. Is there an echo now?
I have it muted.
Wow. I don't hear an echo anymore, Gary.
Look at Michelle solve a technical issue.
Yeah.
I know. One of the world's greatest train chasers and technicians.
I always learn by making the mistake first. So
yeah. So the next morning we woke up really early, but we had a secret ace up our sleeve. We got some super dope donuts to start the day. They were really good. You could hear Gary eating his all the way in the back seat. They must have been really good.
Real good.
They must have been real good. And then we went to Evanston. And again, this is all covered in actually a fair amount of detail on the Chasing Trains video. But I do have a video I want to show from the Fremo thing. They had a great event. and they had a lot of trains. Let me fix the volume here. They had a huge layout. I think there was over 200 modules, and there were people from, somebody somewhere gave me the information, and I should have written it down, but I forgot to.
And this was separate from, they had a train show early in August, and this is a separate event.
Right. This was the weekend after the one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
It was 2 weekends, maybe 3.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks later, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool.
I ended up going to the HO one, which was 2 weeks after this, and it was like, it took up half of the building. Like, it was way smaller than this, but it was still cool to see.
Right.
Shout out to Jim Wanloss for
that much intel.
Well, to think about it this way too, considering the fact that the N scale one took up the entire building, gives you an idea of how big it really was. I mean, it was a significant layout. I don't think that I've ever seen any layouts that big before. So it was quite an event, and I should thank the people that invited us to be there, because I don't know for sure that we would have made that part of the trip had we not been invited to go check out that layout. And another really cool thing about that is it's going to end up as a layout tour on this channel here in the future. Cool. And we're going to talk about another layout tour, Michelle, because when we got to Greeley, I got to finish that, but we'll get to that in a minute. So something else that we did when we were in Evanston was we went searching for Kyle. And that was, I should probably explain this. Kyle was a kid. We don't really know what this kid's name was. So we just called him Kyle because he seemed like that was his name. He was there last time we were in Evanston when we were chasing the big boy. And he told us all kinds of interesting stuff about happenings around town. And we thought maybe if we went out there, we might be able to find him. And you'll have to watch Chasing Trains to find out if we found Kyle or not. But yeah, there's a whole segment actually on the Chasing Trains video that was our search for Kyle, because it was around lunchtime during the Fremo event. So that'll be, again, something to watch. Right? We had to go eat, and this guy missed our turn. We had to drive for like 10 miles out of town to turn back around to come back because there was nowhere to turn around on the highway.
That's true. In Wyoming on the interstate, there's not another exit for a while.
Yeah. We got a question from Robert about how long it took to get a train around. I don't know. I do know that the guys, go ahead, Alvin.
One of the main leader guys was running a train around for, didn't he say 6 hours?
Yes, it was the day before.
And he did not finish.
Yeah,
he did not finish.
That was Mark. Mark's actually been on the channel before. We did a video about Fremo, and Mark Watson was one of our guests on that show. That was one of our Crew Lounge shows. He was at this event. He's one of the guys that invited me to go document it. And that's exactly what he said. He was testing or running a train the day before for 6 hours and did not get all the way around the entire layout. So that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's a big layout. Anyway, moving along here, the next morning we woke up and drove out to, well, really all the way to Greeley. We went across Wyoming. We stopped in a place called Green River, which is where our next video comes from. And I didn't know this, right? I didn't know this, but there is a large yard at Green River. I'm going to bring this video
with a people bridge that you can go over. I love it.
Exactly. And this video was taken from that people bridge. And you can see how big the yard is in that direction. And what was cool about this was the fact that we ended up with several eastbound trains that were waiting to get into the yard, and we could see them from the highway as we were driving into Green River. And so we hung out at Green River for I don't know, what was it, guys? About an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, maybe at the most. It was not 4 or 5 hours. I'm not sure what. Yeah, 45 minutes.
45 minutes, I think.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 40 minutes actually. I actually checked my watch.
Well, it's probably a good thing that it was only 40 minutes because it was cold there.
It was cold.
And I think we were all dressed in summertime clothes because, you know, it's the middle of August and you don't expect it to be 50 degrees anywhere.
In Wyoming, you do.
But
Right.
it is Wyoming.
So were they doing some switching in that yard?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what these.
So there's
these
a daily
FCCs.
train out of the North Yard in Denver that goes right through Greeley, and it's called the Green River. It goes to Green River, and then they switch it out there.
So
cool.
cool story. We saw a berry table train come through, like when we first got there, and the next day, when we were at the museum, I saw it pass by outside the
Did you?
museum.
Yeah. See, there's a Green River to Denver and a Denver to Green River.
And it had like toolboxes on it. I don't know.
They
What-
look like small dumpsters.
Sure.
They stack them.
No. It had flat things, and then it had like a knack box. You know what a knack box is? Well, it's like
I
it's
don't know.
just
We should just look at this train. It's probably the one.
no.
It's mixed freight. It is a mixed freight train, so it could
I
be.
think it was the one before this one.
Yeah, this is just an
Look
Easter.
at that locomotive in the middle. That's a weathering job.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
That one.
One of the really cool things about bridges like this is that you can see down to see how your models should be weathered on the top. Usually you don't get that view because your trackside and the trains are so tall, right?
I like that this bridge doesn't have like something to block you from like looking down. So
Right.
legit, you could stick your hands over and take pictures with no bridge in the way, which is kind of cool, but sketchy.
It's not that tiny screen.
Yeah, and it's only, I don't know, 3 feet tall, maybe, like the walls.
Yep.
So
3 or 4.
I don't know.
I think it might be 4 feet tall, but the point is there's none of that stuff to prevent jumpers, right?
Right, that screen that gets in your way and you try to get your camera in the little space.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Which on a phone is probably not too hard, but
And I think in Green River, Wyoming, they don't have kids that run up and throw stuff at the trains like they would in a city. So they probably don't need it.
yeah. Green River is definitely one of those small town feeling places because it's a small town. So they probably don't feel like they need to have the suicide prevention
Right.
screen and all that stuff. So
or they know all the little Kyles running around with their
Exactly.
monster cans.
So they don't have to
underneath
worry
the
about it.
trains.
yeah. So anyway, on our way east, we stopped there. I thought we stopped there for at least an hour, but maybe because we saw so many trains. And it was really sad because we had to go and there was plenty of train action that was going to be happening that day. I mean, if I could have made one of my old famous day at videos out of what was happening in that yard alone. But we just didn't have the time. We had somewhere to be. So we continued on our journey. We stopped in a place, I think our next stop was Laramie. We stopped and ate lunch at the yard there in Laramie where absolutely nothing was happening. I mean, there wasn't even anything there or anything moving for that matter. And it was at that point where Gary accidentally left a sandwich in the cooler that ended up smelling really good later.
Ew.
Yeah. We did something that's maybe a pro tip for train chasers. And I don't know that we talked about this on the Chasing Trains episode, but we decided before the trip that we wanted to bring a cooler with us. And we would go in the morning to whatever grocery store was available in whatever place we were staying and buy sandwiches. And it was way cheaper than having to go for fast food, probably healthier than going for fast food. And the other thing was we didn't have to find anything because we had the cooler and we had our food with us. So if we were out somewhere and we didn't want to miss a shot or miss a train that we knew was coming, we just open the cooler and eat lunch right there. So it worked out really well.
I do that every time. I take a cooler. Actually, I take donuts. I always start off with a dozen donuts, a cooler with lots of drinks and snacks. I don't even buy sandwiches. That's a good idea. I just have like granola bars and peanut butter, and because there's no time. You got to be out there watching the trains. You don't have time for a drive-through. What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's exactly, especially the way some fast food places are. It takes long to,
Especially
Anyway,
if you're chasing a specific train, like chasing the big boy. There's no time. You just gotta roll.
absolutely,
You gotta keep going.
absolutely. There's a
To answer Matthew's question, I looked around. I've watched that rail cam video location, but I couldn't seem to figure out where it was, so we didn't make it there.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity though, because every other virtual rail cam, I don't know if you have those pictures handy, Michelle, but when we get to our waving at the cameras section, you can post those pictures.
I can pull them down. They're still my iPhone. I can pull them down while we're talking.
There's plenty of time. That's toward the end of the trip, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that afternoon we ended up, well, our first real destination that day, or at least the planned destination, was with our friend Mike Panel, our mutual friend Michelle that you introduced me to a couple of years ago, who has the silo and does all the restoration work, or I guess preservation work.
Preservation
all that,
and restoration. Yeah, he does both.
Right.
Yeah.
All that very interesting work that he does at the Atlas Missile Silo east of Cheyenne. We did have a very interesting encounter with a wonderful person at the Cheyenne Depot that, she was very, very welcoming. That was really interesting. And I hope that
the opposite of me.
Yeah, the opposite of you, exactly. And yeah, I don't know that, I'm not going to say anything else about it because I don't want to say anything that's mean about them, because maybe she's not there anymore. And other than that, the Cheyenne Depot Museum is worth looking at. We didn't have a lot of time to look.
But you saw the layout, right? Upstairs?
We did, yeah. We did.
Harry Brunk's layout that was written about in the Short Line and Narrow Gauge Gazette for years.
Yeah.
It's a very famous layout.
Yeah, a cool HON3 layout. They didn't have anything running on it, but it was nice to look at in any case. Then we went real quickly, saw the Big Boy in Holiday Park, the 4004 that's on display there. And then we got to see Mike Panel. He has it's called High Plains Railroad Preservation Association. It's always hard for me to remember, but because it has all those long words in it. But that was really cool because I don't know if you remember, Michelle, but he had a Denver trolley .04 that he was working on when you and I were there a couple of years ago. And it was really in the early stages of restoration at that time. I think he had just got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's done now, or very, very close to being 100%, like as much as they're going to do to it. So it was really cool to see that completed, especially having seen it before when it was in its very unfinished stage. And then he also shared with us the 1870s UP caboose that he has on site there. They originally thought it was a newer caboose than that, but it turned out to be the oldest known piece of Union Pacific equipment in existence, that he's working on restoring that as well.
And it has the octagon cupola.
Yes, it does.
And eight-sided cupola.
Yes. And he did a great presentation of these projects that he has that I'm going to share on the channel. It just so happens that patrons to the channel on Patreon are going to have a sneak peek of that probably at least a month before it comes out, as well as the Chasing Trains episodes that I'm talking about as we go. So that evening when we were done talking with Mike, and if you guys want to say something about what you saw at Mike's, please chime in. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. But that evening, we drove the rest of the way to Greeley, and where we got to see you, Michelle.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, right? We had dinner with you and Jennifer, which was really good.
We had just finished Monster Day.
right?
I know there was a question earlier about why wasn't I with you guys, because I helped our city run a huge event called Monster Day, and I was so tired when you guys showed up. I had just finished taking down barricades and cleaning up trash and doing all those things.
Right. Then you had to deal with us.
Yeah, and you guys were rough, I tell you.
Yeah, the homeless bums roll into town wanting more of your time.
It's okay. We had chips and queso, so I was happy. So it was all good. It was a great way.
That was a really good dinner place that we went to.
We went to the Rio Grande, which makes sense.
It was very tasty.
A railroad place. I love the Rio Grande. It's a good restaurant. So.
Yeah, it was good. I know I enjoyed it. So anyway, the next day, part of the reason why we wanted to go to Greeley, I mean, of course, the biggest reason was because you're there, Michelle. but another big part of the whole, equation there was a couple years ago when I made the trip to Greeley for that
2018
youth and model rail. Was it 2018?
It was our youth summit in 2018. That's how long ago it was. October of 2018.
That was 3 years ago. I keep thinking it was only 2 years ago.
We missed a year last year.
Yeah. Well, when we were there, I wanted to do a video that could be made into a layout tour of the Colorado Model Railroad Museum. And we did. We shot all day with a really great guy who's a volunteer there. But unfortunately, due to circumstances, I wasn't able to use all of that footage. And so I really wanted to get back to Greeley to do what we call pickup shots. That's a video term for people. Pickup shots is when you need a shot and you go and pick it up because you need it to finish your show. And I'm letting you know that because B-roll is the other big term. Anyway, so I got the pickup shots with a really great guy. Thank you very much, Michelle, for hooking me up with Bob there at the museum. I do think that I have what I need now to finish the layout tour. Yay. And I have a couple shots from that that I want to share with people because because these are some shots. These are also considered pickup shots because we had a train that I had this same shot or a very similar shot, but it was a really unprototypical train. It was.
I was like, John, you can't use that train.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something that was taken kind of on a lark because when I was there that October 3 years ago, I had the 1111, which was a model put out by Athearn of the UP 1111, which was their tribute to the workers, which I'm not going to get into.
It's a controversial locomotive.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the controversy around that locomotive. It is a cool model. I still have it. It's in my collection now. But it was pulling a very anachronistic intermodal train that never would have run. The locomotives and the train were totally not right for each other. So we did this massive, I don't know, what is that, an ore train, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's our ore train. And I'll have to tell you, 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have known that was wrong. Well, I've learned so much about rail in the last 3 years that I took one look at it and went, what is that?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a legitimate concern. You don't want people to think that the museum portrays things that inaccurately. So I totally got it. When you and Bob were saying, oh, we can't have that train, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I mean, I knew it was wrong when we did it, but no one said anything. So I thought you guys were.
I
cool
wasn't there when you filmed, so.
Oh, you weren't there? I thought you were there. You were up in the office.
I had to work up doing something else, so I didn't see what trains you guys used.
You were in the office.
This was the part where Gary and I were drafting my layout.
Yeah. So Gary and Alvin were upstairs.
Yeah,
you guys were up in the break room, right?
We were in the other upstairs.
Yeah.
and then, Gary's drafting my layout.
Yeah, that's I haven't edited that episode of Chasing Trains yet, but I'm pretty sure that's going to end up on the Chasing Trains video because it's pretty funny.
It was pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah. So something else funny happened when I was filming with Bob. I for some reason I had it in my mind that Chris Palomares wasn't going to be there that day, but I kept seeing someone who looked just like Chris Palomares there. And I'm like, who is this guy that looks just like Chris? Like he has a twin brother. Well, it turned out that it was Chris. This is another shot that I really like. I put the phone down on the riverbed to catch the shot of that same train. This is one of my favorite opportunities on the layout, Michelle, this area of the layout.
It's so deep too, the river. I love it.
Yeah.
I have a shot like that in Durango.
Of the real deal.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna show that exact shot that I took in Durango. Good. And you're right, I didn't even think about it, but it looks just like this.
Looks just like that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it turned out that it was Chris, and I misunderstood. He was meeting us there that day. And I want to actually thank Chris. I don't think he watches this live anyway, but he hung out with us the rest of the day. We went to, and we weren't planning to do this that day, but we ended up going to Golden because they were going to be closed the next day at the Colorado Railroad Museum. Not the Colorado Mono Railroad Museum, but the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden. And so we went and hung out with Chris for that. And he ended up showing us some stuff that he's involved with now, selling train stuff, and they're getting a website set up. And I'm really excited for him because it seems like he's going to have a really cool thing going once he gets it all figured out. And then we also, when we were leaving the Railroad Museum, we ended up getting a chance to see, I don't know if I have it on here. Oh, here it is, BNSF Golden. We ended up seeing a BNSF train. This is just a quickie I want to share. And this is just across the street from the entrance to the museum in Golden. And we had one of these, they call these a vomit bonnet. Well, actually, that's not the vomit bonnet, is it? That's the, what do they call that? The officer's paint scheme or something like that?
The green and white without the wagon wheel on the front has its own name. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I think it's like an officer or something or other or something like that.
I think they call it the executive.
Executive, that's the word.
Executive, there you go.
Yep.
For some reason, I was thinking vomit bonnet because I knew it was one of those green BNSF things. But there we are hanging out with Chris. And like I said, I don't know that Chris watches, but I do want to thank Chris for hanging out with us because we ended up, he showed us.
You're chasing trains. Finally. Chasing them now.
I like his t-shirt.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, and rail fan. That's what we were doing that day, believe me. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. We ended up going to Denver, and we went to Denver Union Station and
dinner was so good. It was so good.
We hung out there. We found some sort of, what do you call that food, Alvin? You have a name for that food.
Bar food? That's what I feel like it is.
Yeah, it's like a brewery food or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a good dinner.
Did you eat in the depot at the restaurant that's inside it?
No, it's on the south side, I think.
It's across the street, like the Chop
Lion, something Lion, Thirsty
okay.
Lion or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I liked it.
We did not get a chance to go to Georgetown Loop on this trip. I don't know that we would have had time to be honest. So, yeah, Gary's shaking his head. Gary was the guy, the mastermind behind the travel agent.
And after you guys left to go to Golden, I had the Trains Magazine tour come in that day.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on their way for the Cumbres and Toltec events. And so we were the first stop. They all flew in that morning. And then so I was hosting Trains Magazine after you guys left. It was a crazy weekend for me. Like lots going on.
Right. You had Monster, whatever.
Monster Day, and then I had the Trains Magazine tour. And
right. The next day. And then the next day after that was Monday. And you took us rail fanning.
And I took you guys out rail fanning.
That was really fun. So let me bring up some videos about that because we got some good videos we got some really good video. real
That
good.
was a fun day of we got really lucky.
That was one of the highlights, I think, because every time that I've gone rail fanning with you, Michelle, it turns into something really good. So
I get lucky sometimes. And I know good people. I can't say it's me. I know good people that I text and they tell me things.
They do. So the first catch, we went out to that, what was it, 42nd?
We went to the 48th Avenue Bridge, which is usually one of my favorites because they kick cars in this yard. Like usually the locomotives are going right underneath the bridge, like right under you back and forth and kicking cars in this yard. It's fantastic. It's that BNSF yard from our first Chasing Trains video.
BNSF yard, yeah. The BNSF yard that looks a lot like a UP yard.
I have a video of us walking up there.
Oh, do you? You want to show that?
Yeah, if you guys want to know what it's like to travel with these guys, I actually recorded a little bit of what it's like behind the scenes. So let me find that one. Here we go. So John, you can share this. This is what it's like. We were walking up to the bridge.
That's some serious gear you guys are hauling up here.
We're official.
You are official. That's like
official.
3 tripods, 2 backpacks, and John's hat.
John's hat.
You know what they
Most
say?
important
Are you making Chasing Trains videos
I
now?
am. I'm going to send it to you.
Oh, yeah. This is the official hat.
This is the official hat.
And the story about tripods is, I was in Oregon one time, and we had a bunch of tripods. It was one of the original. I think it was the original, very first ever Chasing Trains episode. And some local came up, pulls up and stops, trying to be the neighborhood watch kind of, and he's like, well, you got more tripods than you got people. So that's the running Chasing Trains joke.
So I have to leave because now we have more people than tripods.
No,
I'll just go back to the car.
We're gonna have more.
Just kidding.
You can come. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Gary.
So that's what it's like.
Yeah. That's good. So anyway, we got up to the overpass and it was absolutely worthless because not only because of, the main reason is there was nothing happening. There was nothing going on at all that day at that yard. But even worse, there were some guys working on the overpass with a jackhammer and just
Literally jackhammering the sidewalk up next to us.
Yeah, it was horrendous noise. Like I carry earplugs with me because sometimes trains are really, really loud and I'm sensitive about hearing loss because I've been a drummer my whole life and I already can't hear. So I don't want to miss anymore, So we left. We're like, you know what? Nothing's happening here. I mean, I should have made a video of the guys working on.
No, I didn't either. It was so loud. I was just so ready to leave.
So we went down to the joint line, I think is what you call that, right?
Yep. Here comes a real train. You're going to hear this in a second. So
yeah, this is a good one. We went
to the joint line.
Yeah. I see.
I have a video for this too.
Wait, let me share my video first because my video happened before your video. But let me try to find this here. I called this something else. This was actually in a place called Sedalia. So this is what we caught in Sedalia, this massive coal drag.
There's us. And I have the opposite version of
this. Alvin's hamming it up.
Too funny. And then I'm going to turn around. Ooh. My cell phone video is not really good. I have a video of you guys like this too. I have this one. And then I have the one of me and Alvin.
Yeah, I want to see the one of you guys by the box. That's pretty funny.
Oh, wait, it didn't share right. Share video file. I have to find the right. Here we go. Okay. So this one is what it's like watching YouTube in front of us. Before the train gets there. But I think we can hear it at this point.
I think we're going to hear it for that crossing right there.
You look like you're in the desert.
Okay, I'll get
I'll get that. But sir.
Oh yeah, that's what it's like. Oh, filming with you guys.
Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna run it.
Oh, right.
And this is what happens. This next one is what happens when me and Alvin are bored waiting for a train.
Did you already put it up?
Yeah, I put it there. Let me remove
Okay.
the other one. There you
Oh,
go.
oops. Here we go.
So where are we, Alvin?
We're right here. This is the thing. Let me read it to you. This is Manhart Street. Milepost 24.56.
That's awesome.
This is Manhart
Now we won't
Street.
get lost. We're
Right
here.
there. Manhart Street's
It's
right
right
there.
there. Here we are.
The two blondes getting
That's what
lost.
we do.
Oh man. But so we saw that one train, but we were running out of time because we really wanted to get to the tunnel portal, the east portal of
Yes.
the Moffat tunnel, which is probably what, an hour and a half drive from there, right?
From there, right?
something
And,
like that.
and we knew Amtrak was late by at least 1 hour at this point. And
Right.
we're following it to figure out when 6 is going to come through that tunnel.
Mhm.
So we blow north, and I have another idea. So I text another friend. I
Right.
texted my friend Brad, and I said, Brad, are you home today? We'd love to come.
This was the highlight of the day without any question, was going up to Brad's place and seeing the Big Ten curves from the bluff that overlooks them. We
That
lost
was
I
Gary.
told the guys, I
cooler.
said, I don't know any trains. There's no BNSF that I know of. There may be a UP or something. But it's worth seeing the track. We went up there just even to see the track. It's totally worth it. So
That was way
Oh.
cooler than seeing number 6 like come out. I mean, that was cool too.
It
but,
was.
like, oh
I
man,
agree. I think the Big Ten is awesome.
just
Yeah.
wonderful.
Do you have a video from there?
I don't remember. I'm going to see
I
if
have
I
my
do.
fast
Michelle.
one. We could do my 4 times the speed one.
Yeah, let me see if I have a video that I wanted to share from up there. I don't. So let's share yours.
So let me tell you guys what Brad is a conductor for Amtrak.
Right?
He's Conductor Brad. He's known as Conductor Brad, and he's kind of YouTube famous because anytime that they break down, he breaks out his guitar and starts playing for people. He's a fantastic historian.
Yep.
He bought a home above what's called the Big Ten curve. And in John's video, you'll have this is the curve here. Now this is 4 times speed. So it took 12 minutes to film this in regular speed.
What's remarkable about this is this video is taken from Brad's backyard.
Mhm.
This is his view, which I thought was just really cool. And if you
This is
watch,
bumpy because I sped it up, but sorry. It's a cell
no,
phone.
it's fine. And I can even, if it takes too long, I can even fast forward through some of it. But what I was going to say though, is if you watch the TSG Multimedia podcast from this month, it came out, I think, a week and a half ago. Brad appears on it and talks about this Big Ten curve, or curves as it were, and explains, the whole thing, why it's there, why it was built, how it was built, all that stuff.
Elevation gain. Yeah. And where those trees are, where the train is right now, that's a windbreak. And there's actually rail cars behind those trees because it's so windy there.
Yeah. And yes, CV Railroad and HO Scale says, wow, you should be able to see Denver. Absolutely. You can see Denver from
And
here.
see, I
There
put
it is.
downtown
Yeah.
at the top. So he's coming into what's called the Littleton. He just went through the Big Ten, and now he comes down into the Littleton and then heads on into Denver.
That was a great part of the podcast. Fantastic info. I thought so too, Joey. I
Yeah,
really
so
enjoyed
the
that.
Littleton right there. And then he'll cruise on down through Rocky and on into Denver. So, but yeah, the real-time video of that was so long. But we didn't know this train was coming. So all those tripods, they were actually already in the car to leave, and we heard the horn.
Mhm.
And you should have seen how fast these guys got their tripods out.
Oh, we whipped out the tripod.
Ran up the hill.
That was really such a lucky catch, because
Mhm.
if we had left only a couple minutes sooner, we would have missed this. Now, we would have seen it down at the crossing because we would have driven down and got stopped by the train.
Yeah.
And then we would have been kicking ourselves,
Look at the clouds move. Look at the clouds move in this video.
Yeah, that is so
That's
cool.
crazy.
So you're going to have to bring up the next video, Michelle, because I did not record. Well, I recorded at the Moffat Tunnel, but I did not add that to my stuff that I wanted to share about the trip. So if you can bring that up, that would be really great.
I can.
So
bring that one up and delete this one. You have to remove one and bring one. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is when so then after we left there, we actually did make it to the portal in time.
Yeah, we were waiting at the portal for quite a while too.
Yeah, like 45 minutes at least.
Yeah, so we definitely had time for more if we needed it. But it took a while to get there too. There was some guy that kept talking.
Yeah,
he drove up in a car.
I have that video too.
Minutes because my friend Ernie was yakking at me about.
I have a picture of Alvin and Ernie. I'll bring this one up next. Okay. But this is, let's show the Amtrak coming out. You can't really hear it in this video, but in person you could start hearing the sound coming out of the tunnel. Kind of a click and it was interesting.
Yeah, what is that, like a 9-mile tunnel or something like that?
Yeah, it's 12 minutes of darkness when you're on Amtrak. So
cool. I think what's going to happen is all of this stuff that we're sort of doing, I don't know, previews of here is going to be part of the Chasing Trains videos that are coming out from this trip.
Except they won't be from my cell phone. My cell phone video, it won't be in there.
Yeah. Well, actually, oh, you hear it coming?
Can you hear it coming?
I purposely didn't turn the volume down on this one. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Dirty, it's an extra 2% on your check.
Oh, you played it.
Did you fix that?
I'll have to get it
so
fixed
Alvin
before I leave.
had spent like 30 minutes trying to fix that.
When that train comes out of the...
And the guy talking to us drove this car up here and talked to me and Alvin like he would not stop talking. His name was Ernie. And the whole time Alvin's messing with that thing, so I finally just filmed Alvin. So I have one more to show you. Do you remember when here, we don't need to play the whole video, but just the beginning because it's hilarious. So let me bring it up here.
I'm guessing
so while we were waiting for Amtrak, this is also what happens in Colorado.
Oh, I know what you're thinking of.
There's a deer right in front of the tunnel.
I'm like, no, little deer, don't die. He totally walks over and looks in the tunnel.
Can you see that deer? I can't point it out on my...
Can you see it in the middle of the tunnel right now, guys?
Yeah.
It's right in the middle of the tunnel. And so he just cruises on by. So anyway, I just wanted to show that. We're like, there's a deer over there. How'd he get in the fencing?
Yeah, I was really afraid because at the time when the deer showed up, we knew that the train was coming because we heard it enter the tunnel.
It was in the tunnel at the time. That's why I was like, don't go in there, little deer.
Yeah. There was definitely something coming and we could hear it. And it was just like, wow, don't let this happen, please. So
yes, the little deer was fine. He made it right on by.
Yeah. Anyway, so we made it back in time to catch the Amtrak train at the curve before it enters that Big Ten curve area. And I thought this was worth sharing because it's just really amazing lighting because we have basically what amounts to golden hour here in the shade of the mountains, right on the east side of the mountains, but we also have the sky lit up because the sun wasn't really fully down below the actual horizon yet. And I thought that made for some really cool lighting.
It's really beautiful light. For those of you that don't know this area, this is Blue Mountain Crossing, and directly across from us is Tunnel 1. Where the rocks are, on the right-hand side of the ridge, that is Tunnel 1 of the Moffat line.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the grade going up to it.
Yeah, just above the box there, right?
Look how pretty this
box
is. And look at the pretty light on the train. It's like kind of pink on it.
Yeah, so I got this with 4 cameras. two good ones and 2 phones. but the phones actually are good cameras. I mean, this video we're watching came from my iPhone SE. So
my iPhone 12 Max Pro will do 4K video.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So does this SE that I took this with. This is originally 4K. So
this is 6. The question about this is 6. This is the eastbound into Denver. Comes in the evenings.
Yeah. So there's that.
And it's headed, as soon as it just left us, it went through the Big Ten curve, just like the other train we saw.
So Brad was probably up there watching it, I bet.
Brad was waiting for us to come up there to watch it, and we didn't make it in time.
Oh, I know that he was waiting for us.
They had like wine and cheese, and we missed it.
What? You
I told me that later. I'm like, I can't believe we missed it. But there's no way we would have made it to his house and still caught that train.
Yeah, but we could have made it for the wine and cheese.
We could have gone out for the wine and cheese, though.
I would have been okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds way better than that burger we ate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember what that was, but it wasn't great.
Oh man,
that was a good time.
Especially as late as it was.
It wasn't such a good time.
Yeah, so we drove back to Greeley, and the next morning, that was it, wasn't it?
That's the end of my rail fan adventures with you guys.
Yeah. That was great, though, and once again, I'm sure I thanked you on that day, but thanks for taking us out and to see all that stuff, because it was really cool. That was definitely, this trip that we're talking about was so full of highlights. It's hard to just pick one thing, because what happened after we left Greeley was also more highlight stuff. So we ended up going south. The next day was basically a travel day for us, but we went to Durango, but we took a very scenic route down through, Como, I guess is the name of the place, but we didn't stop there because I didn't know what it was. And if I had known that they had a train and a roundhouse and stuff at Como, I would have probably insisted that we stop at least to take some pictures.
And I knew it, but I just didn't insist.
It's the only Denver, Salt Lake, and Pacific that's being redone. Well, but their locomotive is actually Klondike Kate right now, but that's okay.
In retrospect, I would like to have stopped there, because it would have been cool to see what they had going on, because I could see the roundhouse from the highway, and I didn't realize what it was as we were driving by. I'm like, well, there was another thing going on, which I'll tell you about in a second, but as we were driving by, I saw it and like, hey, there's a roundhouse out there. And then Gary said, oh, that's Como. So he knew what it was. But we were very, very hesitant to stop, because there were some really, really slow ass trucks that we got stuck behind before that. And we were not going to get stuck behind those trucks again. So we're like, you know what? Send it. We were not going to stop there. So we kept going, and we went down through Alamosa, through Antonito, then through Chama to Durango. So it was a really long day of mostly driving, but we did get some really cool shots on the way down there. So when we came through Alamosa, we saw the Alamosa Depot and some contract train that's operating the freight service down there. I think it's a court-ordered thing, because Iowa Pacific, which was one of the worst-run railroads in the history of the world, went bankrupt. And we caught this local on the track between Alamosa and Antonito.
Is it the San Luis Rio Grande?
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. But
that's like least power.
Yeah. This is a leased SD70M, I think. And I didn't even know that they had freight service between Antonito and Alamosa. These guys probably knew, or at least Gary probably knew.
Yeah, I do.
There's a short line there, the San Luis Rio Grande. Yeah.
That's what this is, apparently. So we caught this train, which was a nice sort of surprise catch. I don't think any of us expected to see this train going anywhere, but they were switching cars around when we were in Alamosa, and then we caught it on the way to Antonito.
And there's also still the train that was out, I think it's Monta Vista or something like that connects with the San Luis Central.
Oh, okay.
That has business. And they consolidate it all in Alamosa, and then they go over to whatever the name of that place is. When
They
they
go over to
make the
South
UP.
Fork. They head over towards South Fork area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we caught that. It was a nice surprise catch. And then
I thought that was funny because there was the lady that was like, "Oh man, you want to see like an old train? It's down the street. Keep going." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's where we're going." She
Yeah.
goes, "That's not that cool, but that down the road is way better."
Oh,
I'm going to
you
play it again.
this
I'm going to
one,
play it again because it's a quick run by.
that's the 168.
You know something about that one, don't you?
I do. I love the 168. It has a sister,
Yeah.
the 169, on display, but that's a neat little. They just restored that last year.
Yeah.
This was really its first celebration year. So fantastic work there in Antonito for them to
Yeah.
restore that little guy.
That was a cool shot too, because we found out when we were in Antonito that they were waiting for some trains to return that were out on excursion. So this is the Cumbres and Toltec. This is I guess it's their east terminus, Antonito.
Mhm.
And so
It's the Colorado terminus.
yeah, that whole weekend they were, or actually that whole week, and then for a whole week after that, they were running trains for what they called their Victorian Iron House Roundup. And it was this huge event that anybody who's into steam or narrow gauge seemed like was there.
I don't think they've
Yeah.
ever had so many steam locomotives. I think that's the most they've ever had lit up at one time. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, probably. And the really cool thing was they had visiting locomotives, including 2 wood burners. We'll get to see more of them later on during this review. But we woke up in Durango the next morning, and it was a nice day for chasing trains. So we did. We went out and found what I'm about to show you. And I'm trying to find it here. Sorry, there's a long list of videos. So this is the Durango and Silverton diesel that used to run out at the Alaskan White Pass and Yukon Railroad. And we followed this train basically all the way out to Silverton, which is their eastern terminus. And so that was a cool chase, because we also ended up seeing what I'm about to show you. I guess I should be opening these as I go here. The Durangos, here it is. Oh no, this is a different one. I didn't share this. The number 18, Gary. What's wrong with me?
I don't know. That was the highlight of the trip.
That was the highlight of the trip. Well, it was for you anyway. But there's a shot here that Gary got, or I'm sorry, there's a shot here that someone took with a drone. It wasn't Gary, that was someone else. That is of that same train.
I'll admit to it.
Oh, did you catch this, Gary?
Yeah, that's my drone.
You're going to get busted now. But this is the train arriving in Silverton. What I failed to, well, I guess you're just going to have to watch the Chasing Trains video then later on. That includes the double header of the number 18 and one of the regular Durango and Silverton units.
Was it the 18 and the 473?
I'm sorry, I don't remember which one was the regular, but
I think it was the 480.
The 480? Okay.
that sounds right. I think it was the 482.
A36 then.
Yeah. And then also, I'm trying to find it now. Oh, did I put the wrong dates on this? I think I put no. I know what happened. Okay. No, I remember now. So we went back to Durango.
This is Silverton.
Yeah, this is Silverton. We had to go back to Durango because I had a tour of the Soundtraxx.
Something damaged internally.
Yeah, of the Soundtraxx factory. I'm calling it a factory. It's actually like an office, right, where they have all this amazing machinery that does the work on the boards. And so I put a little blurb of this. And while we were there, we ran into, and this was a planned thing, the other people that I'm about to bring into our stream here, this was a planned thing. Trevor and Paul and Lauren were going to be in town also. So we hooked up with them. Hello, Trevor, Paul, and Lauren. Thanks for calling in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
And what were you guys out there for?
Trains.
That's the short answer, isn't it?
You were out there for the Cumbres event and you stopped in Durango, or you were out there just for Durango? Or
Well, we primarily went out there for the Iron Horse Roundup.
Okay.
But Paul and Lauren had never seen Durango. I've been there before. But they'd never seen Durango, so we had toyed with the idea of just going to Cumbres. And then we kind of started talking about, well, we're going to be all the way out there. We might as well go see Durango, right? Everyone agreed it was probably the best idea to go see Durango. And I'm really glad we did, because honestly, that was one of the highlights of the trip, I'd say.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. You need to see both. I always tell people, like, you should do both. They're only 2 hours apart. Just plan it. I think John lost his earphones again.
I did.
And it's so far out of the way that like it'd be stupid not to drive
Right,
2 hours.
You've
to
already
go.
driven 6 hours at a minimum
my
from
gosh,
somewhere
so
to get
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Well,
so you might as well
we
take
were
the extra
partially
time.
on a time constraint because I was preparing to go back to school, and I was also working at the same time back at Roaring Camp, and I had to work a lot more days than I anticipated before we went to the event due to some crew scheduling issues. And we flew into Albuquerque and drove to Durango, which was only about 3.5 hours, which wasn't too bad. And so we ended up spending a total of 4 days. We came in on a Wednesday, drove to Durango, and then spent until Saturday chasing trains, then went back home to California.
Here's a good question. Had everyone visited there before, or was it everyone's first time? It was my first time.
First time.
Yeah, my first time too.
Yeah.
This is my second.
Not mine.
I've been
Not
many.
mine either.
Well, when you're as old as Gary, you've been a lot of places.
Yeah.
That's right.
What's sad is that I had like it's like literally an almost 8 hour drive for me to get to Durango, but you can get there in 3 hours from Arizona or New Mexico or any other state.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that was an interesting thing, and it was good to see you guys out there, Trevor and Paul and Lauren, and it was really cool to be able to share the Soundtraxx. I'm going to call it a factory because that's just what I'm going to call it with you guys. So I was really glad that you were able to make it to that.
Well, they do manufacture there, John, so it is a factory.
I guess so.
The whole base,
Yeah.
the whole ground floor is the factory part, and then the offices are upstairs.
Yeah. So we got to see George. That, everyone watching this channel has seen George because Soundtraxx was sponsoring the TSG podcast for over a year. And so we got to hang out. Anytime that we have an excuse to hang out with George is a good excuse to do so. And that was one of those times. We ended up ending our day with, we went to that Mexican place, didn't we, that day? That was really good. So,
If it's the one down by the depot, it is really good.
Yeah, it was gazpacho's. It was very good.
Well,
yeah, that's the one.
That's good. I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really good. And the next day, although I'm trying to remember now, I think something interesting happened overnight that night. When we were woken
that's
up.
when Gary fell out of bed and he hurt his leg.
Well, we forgot before that we went to George's layout.
Oh, was that George's layout that day?
Oh,
Yeah,
we
it
went
was.
to George's layout first.
It was. Check it out. I even have a video from there.
Oh, man.
Look at that. We're going to have to talk about someone falling out of the bed, though, after
There's
this.
too much stuff on the layout right now. So these are all picked up on this last.
So like I said, this was another one of those excuses. I want to pause that for a second because he showed us something that I thought was really cool. Oh, I can't fast forward this. That's odd. I was able to earlier. Here we go.
Last trip.
You see that White House right there
Yeah.
on the upper right? That's a 3D printed thing. And the interior was also 3D printed, but you can pull the shell off of the interior. So it's like this completed model, and I don't remember who he said makes those. Do you guys remember? That was really cool. I guess
don't
nobody
know.
remembers.
I've seen them at train shows where they have buildings like that, but I don't know the company.
I had never seen that before, but I thought that was such a great idea because then you can paint the exterior without having to worry about any of the stuff inside. And then the interior, you're
great idea.
I thought that was really cool. So anyway, thanks, Trevor, for reminding me about that because I had a video about it and forgot altogether.
Did George move his
John?
Right?
Assisting senior citizens along in their memory.
I love how George moves his people around. He has like little pins on his people so he can move them all over his layout. Did he do that for you guys?
I think he was showing these guys that. Yeah,
he did it.
Yeah,
he did it for me when I went 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I guess. Jeez.
Yeah,
I think he was showing that after you guys left because we stayed there another 20 minutes or so. I think he showed us some of that stuff. He was too busy showing the BNSF unit to you guys with all the cool lighting on it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was very cool.
But did he pull out the general? Did he have it?
Is that what he calls it?
The little tiny, I don't know if that's what it is. I thought it was the general, but it's like the little tiny steam locomotive that he worked on.
No, he didn't pull that.
It's really cool too. So did you guys enjoy? So you enjoyed Durango? Did you see the train? You didn't ride the train, right? Or did you three ride?
Oh,
we rode the train.
But
you
we're
rode it.
getting to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting to that one. But Alvin has to tell a story about what happened that night when Gary fell out of.
Oh man! So it's 3 a.m. right? We're all passed out, sleeping, snoring, and then I hear a loud "Caw! Ow! Help! Alvin! Help! Ah, my leg! Rub my leg!" So I'm half asleep when I roll over, and I'm going like this to this calf. And ow! He goes, "Oh, it's okay. It's good. And I said, okay, whatever. So I roll back over, fall asleep, and I see him walk by to go to the bathroom, and then he just went back to sleep on the floor. He's passed out. He's done.
You can't fall out of the floor.
Can't fall out of the floor because he's in a sleeping bag. So he slipped and tried to catch himself with his leg and didn't end out well, obviously. But
no, it all ended up okay.
Yeah.
Well,
We survived.
You're still alive. Yeah, you're still alive. But I got to tell you, it is very, very, very disconcerting.
Oh man!
Because look, on a trip like this, we're up early to bed late. Up early, go. There's no easy days. You know, it's just up and down and up late, up early, up late, up early, and I was really, really, really tired. When you wake up, sometimes you don't even know where you are. You know, like I think I'm at home or something because I don't know where I'm sleeping. And to be awakened with that kind of, I mean, he was in Gary, you were in full panic mode. That was,
it was so bad, so scary.
Yeah, well, my leg was really cramping.
Sure sounded like it. Anyway, so I want to get to the train ride because we did ride the Durango and Silverton. That was the first thing we did. The next morning, we got up kind of early and took some shots of the earlier trains leaving on their way out of town. But then we did ride. And this is just a quick little blurb of the ride that I took while we were riding. And again, I don't want to give away all the amazing stuff that's going to be on the chasing trains video. So on this video or on this program, I'm kind of just sharing highlight stuff, and people can certainly feel free to catch the more detailed chasing trains videos when they come out.
It's so worth it to ride the train.
Or you can go to my YouTube channel because it's all posted there too.
Oh, that's right. Gary already posted a bunch of really great clips. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is there.
I forgot about that. Yeah, good catch, Gary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a while before they come out on this channel. So, but then something else really cool happened. And this was, again, thanks to Trevor who arranged for a sort of behind the scenes shop of a tour of the shop there. That was really cool, and special thanks to Trevor, but also to Scott Kennedy, who's the guy talking right there. Who
Yeah,
he works
Scott's almost like my doppelganger. He looks a lot like me, but Paul and I have known Scott since we were probably like 10, right?
Right.
Paul? Or younger,
Yeah, at least, maybe even younger. I mean,
And
we
you guys
ran
are-
into him, but since before that, you know.
And you guys are all about 15 now, right?
Right.
Paul's not wearing a hat.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hey, what's up? What have you done with Paul? Who are you?
He's always wearing a hat.
Well,
He
it's
doesn't
more
have his
comfortable
plane
with
hat on.
headphones if I don't have the hat on.
Oh, I see. They're not. It's not hat phones.
But it was really interesting
I
to
can
go
wear
into the
them
shop.
like this.
It was really interesting to go into the shop at Durango because not only do they have an incredible machine shop there, I mean, they have everything they need to maintain those locomotives and some. But seeing how they're doing the oil conversions on those engines was also really interesting because it's definitely kind of uncharted territory what they're doing in some ways for those locomotives to do that. And so I was kind of interested to see how they were doing it, what inventive ways they'd figured out to convert them. You know, they were doing a really good job with it. I was impressed with what I saw.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of big tools that I haven't seen in a lot of places. We'll put it that way. So I was asking Scott when we were there too, something about, do other organizations send stuff to them because they have all those tools? And I don't remember what he told me, but I think he said they do, don't they?
They do, but the thing is that their hands are so full maintaining what they have. I mean, they have 6 or 7 active locomotives on the roster, and I don't know how many passenger cars. That's a lot to maintain.
Yeah, for sure.
He said that Disney was gonna send them some stuff, but ended up not.
All right. Yeah.
Which I guess
I was thinking that, Gary, you need to change your name to Potato now because Potato's on the screen instead of you.
Oh, is that his dog's name? Is Potato?
Isn't she cute?
She's cute.
I think we should have just had Potato on the show, Gary. Why did we have you on here? Potato's much better looking.
Potato should have been on the trip.
She should have been on the trip. She would have come to your rescue right away when you were screaming bloody murder.
So the Leadville Railroad in Colorado is dog friendly. You can take your dogs on that one.
Well, and we now have to go to the Leadville Railroad.
Oh, that's right. We have to go
The
there.
Leadville Railroad just bought the 89.
That's
They
right.
did.
An old friend, yeah.
And that engine has a lot of history with the Santa Cruz branch. So
Really? I didn't know that.
it ran on the Santa Cruz branch for like 5 years,
Yeah.
Oh,
which is the
okay.
railroad that runs past Paul's house. We have a video of that engine passing Paul's house.
I think it's now been renumbered to 1889. right?
1889, yeah.
Yeah.
1889.
Well, what's really cool about that engine, it was a Milwaukee Road unit, and inside the windows, because Kevin gave me a cab ride in it a couple of times, but inside the windows, you can actually still see the old Milwaukee Road paint inside the windows.
Number 306.
Number 306.
That is cool.
That's really cool. You guys need to come out and go see it. You guys know Bo? You guys know any of the guys at Leadville?
No, but my cousin lives in Leadville. So
Well, there you go. You have a place to
But
stay.
there's a
I'll
boat,
help
too.
you. If you come out, I'll help you. Those guys are super nice.
Cool.
You can go
Maybe
see
we'll
it.
come
I
out
need
and
to
go.
go see it too, so come out soon and we'll go see it.
Yeah, we'll come out. You can take us there, Michelle. It'll be another
Yeah.
Chasing Trains episode with
missing-
Michelle.
My normal speeder run on the Leadville is next weekend, and I'm out of town. I'm so sad. I'm missing it.
Oh well. Something else happened that same day. I want to move on with our trip because we're not going to get to the end if we don't move on. Which is also something that I want to thank you for, Trevor, for inviting us to see this, because there's a guy who lives in Durango named Mike May, who's also very much involved with a bunch of steam stuff. I've seen pictures of him that he posted recently where he went out to Cumbres and Toltec and did some running with some of the engines out there after we left. But he has a layout, and let me bring this up here, that's been in the Narrow Gauge and Short Line Gazette because it's a narrow gauge layout. But you can see what it is. It's the White Pass in Yukon in basically HON3. And one of the interesting things that Mike does is he's trained in stage lighting. So his layout is lit with all these fancy stage lights. And I got to tell you, when he started talking, these are the relays that he uses to control that crossing.
Those are actual full-size signal relays too, and it's set up exactly like a crossing signal cabinet. That was really cool.
That's cool.
That was really cool. But I want to say that Paul,
I was the one that asked him. I said, "Hey, bro, let's see your relays work." And then he's like, "Okay."
Sydney already knows.
Yeah, no, because I told her.
I've never seen Paul talk so much, like ever. I mean, granted, I've only seen him one time, but like, he was nerding out. I didn't see him talk at all the entire trip until they're talking about stage lighting.
That was amazing.
Paul got so animated and was like, "Oh, is it?" He started using all this. They were doing shop talk. These guys.
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Oh, those are deuces or whatever." It's like, nah, I put a deuce in the can earlier, but you know. No, but that was really fun to watch you, Paul, talking shop with Mike. That was
he spoke my language. It was great.
He really did, yeah.
He did something I've always envisioned, having stage lighting where it's tied to the fast clock. So during the day the lighting changes. So when it gets nighttime, it goes more blue and stuff. And I was like, I always thought that was super cool to do, but I didn't know someone had actually done it. So now I have someone to pick their brain about if I need help.
Yeah, well, you need help, but I don't know if he can help you with that.
Well, yeah.
What do you got now?
But this is checking it out. Alvin actually got to run a train. He says, "Hey, does someone want to run a train?" So Alvin's like, "I'll run a train." So, I thought I had a shot of you running the train. I guess you got ripped off, Alvin. Sorry about that. We'll watch it again since it was so exciting.
Oh, this might have been the part where I was like, "Oh, what do I do? The light's red." And he's like, "No, what?" And then he fixed it. Don't blow the signals. I know better.
The other thing that was kind of neat is Mike had a big display case upstairs, along with a CTC panel too. But in that case was equipment that had been on Jim Vale's railroad that Paul and I probably ran at one point, which was really cool to kind of see the travels of equipment that is on from a layout that we used to run that's no longer around.
To see it again.
And Mike's also very well versed in full size railroad equipment. He's an engineer at the DNS, and I found out only after we saw him that the first steam engine he ever rode in the cabin was the engine I was running or firing out at Oregon Coast Scenic last weekend, which was kind of cool. Neat connection.
Isn't that something? So you're actually up in Oregon now, aren't you, Trevor?
Yeah, I am. Although I'll be back down in California tomorrow.
Very cool. Now,
what's
Lauren,
your mattress doing on its side?
He sleeps like that.
That's because I'm in what the school calls a dingle. It's a double as single. So it's actually a double room. You pay almost the same price as a single, but you just put one of the mattresses up and sleep on the other one.
There you go. So, Lauren, you've been sitting here quiet the whole time. You're going to say something too, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm just used to being on Zoom and just sitting and nodding at everything. So also this is my first live show, so I'm just trying to get used to it. But yeah,
What did you think about foaming with these guys?
It was eventful. It was actually less chaotic than I thought it was going to be. Because it was like my first time actually like rail fanning. Even though I work on a railroad, I haven't gone anywhere. Like the first time I went somewhere that was other than Roaring Camp was this summer essentially, and we went to Yosemite earlier, or Sugar Pine, and then we went to Durango and Silverton. But other than that, I haven't really done much rail fanning or anything.
Very cool.
Do you like it, Lauren? I mean, I found that.
It's fun. I liked it.
Yeah, and the guy having all the guys with it's kind of like herding cats. It's all right.
I was just kind of along for the ride most of the time. I didn't really have anything I was super determined to do, I guess. I really wanted to see the one thing that I really wanted to see while we were there, because I'm a Lucasfilm foamer, is I really wanted to see Lovato. I really want to see Lovato because of that one single scene in
With
Indiana
the pipe,
Jones.
where he swings
Exactly.
that water pipe. Yep.
Yes, because I've had a Indiana Jones obsession since I was like 5, so I really wanted to see that. But if I saw that, I would be happy. So that was it.
So that was like your old. That's the one thing you did on your trip.
I'm like, oh, I'll see trains too. I don't know too much about trains, even though I work on a railroad. But yeah,
a lot of times I just go along for the ride, and I learn so much.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like somebody's wondering what I do at Roaring Camp. I'm one of the narrow gauge conductors.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's a
And
fun
hopefully
one.
soon a narrow gauge fireman.
Hopefully.
Nice.
That'll be pretty neat.
By the way, when we get further into the program, Lauren, I am going to make you tell about our fantastic cuisine experience in China.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to that because that
you
was
making
truly a
We'll little bit
highlight
on
of
that.
the whole experience.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next day then, because that would be good. We showed Mike's layout. So the next day, we wanted to catch some of the action around the Durango and Silverton, and this was the shot I was mentioning earlier. People who have been watching the whole time will recognize this. So as you're watching this, you'll notice that it's still pretty shady down where the river is. And we stayed here and caught the next train. Once the sun came up, it illuminated that river a little bit more. And then we drove out to catch the train in a place that I thought was a really, really dramatic shot. And I'm sure anybody who's been to Durango and Silverton will know what I'm talking about. This might be the most dramatic shot at the Durango and Silverton, because you have the train along this sheer cliff. Alvin was standing to my right here, and I was really nervous because it's like a 200 or 300 foot drop down into that river, and there's no, if you fall over the edge, forget it.
Wait till you see Mr. Park's drone shots.
Oh yeah, no.
When you look out and over there, it's like almost like you can't see ground, like the train's sticking out farther than the roadbed.
Yeah.
There's some
And
places
the river is only this deep.
Right, and right now it's passing where Trevor and Lauren were standing out on a little outcropping there. So that was something that I don't think I'll ever forget. That was a very, very dramatic place to catch this train.
Is that deer moving in the upper left?
You know, it is.
Yeah.
There were some mountain rams, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Were they longhorn sheep, Lauren, or what? You figured out what they were?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were longhorn sheep, just based on like all the animals I kind of searched, I guess. But that seemed like the most similar to what we saw.
Because when we were out there on that little ledge, they heard the train coming, went running down the track, saw us, and went, "Oh God, there's people there." And then when they went scurrying up the side of the hill right before the train came.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see that too. And I know that's what they were doing because they freaked out like literally seconds before the train came around the corner. So they must be old hands at this.
Yeah, and then they freaked out even more when they saw people sitting on the corner there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to admit, if you were going to go up the track and you saw Trevor standing there, you'd probably run away too.
Yeah, I just had no choice because there's a train coming at us.
Yep. So that was really cool, and that Trevor, sorry, it was easy.
You can't catch a break.
Low hanging fruit, man.
I know. That was also, though, being out on that ledge was actually interesting because after you guys walked back, we went to the same spot you guys were in. And my drone, as I was flying the drone out there, almost ran out of battery and it nearly crash landed into the hillside.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, would have dropped like 400 feet into the Animas River, so that wouldn't have been very good. But was able to land it with like 3% left on the battery. So
right.
That definitely got my heart going a little bit.
Anyway, so that afternoon, I think we caught maybe one more shot after the one you just saw. That would be the one you're talking about, Trevor. And then we all wanted to get out to Chama because they were running some trains out of Chama that morning. And I think that I'm getting a little mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that was it, wasn't it? Because that was the
No, the trains were coming from Antonito.
They were coming from Antonito to Chama. That's right. And I don't think I have any videos of that late afternoon. We only really caught one train though, as memory serves, coming down off of that mountain and then going through a crossing. So there really wasn't a whole lot.
Well, we went to Los Pinos and caught them coming through.
Oh, that was the first shot. That's right. And then we were waiting.
We caught both the trains at Los Pinos. We caught them below Tanglefoot Curve. And then we saw the Madhouse at Cumbres and we're like, nope, we're avoiding that at all costs.
Right.
And went down to Windy Point and we're a little disappointed by the lack of trains coming through Windy Point. But Paul has a fun story from Los Pinos, though, don't you?
Yeah, I was standing out in the field down by the water tank for almost 3 hours, and I was getting attacked by locusts and getting rained on, and it was terrible and sunburned. And it was just, and I had no water either.
And then they kicked him out too.
Yeah, I expected that to happen, but I got a good shot. So.
And mind you, this was probably like close to a quarter-mile walk down there at close to 10,000 feet in elevation.
Yeah, I just went for it.
I had completely forgotten about that afternoon with that gigantic curve that they came around. That was a really cool shot. That now I wish I had thought to include that with this talk, but that's okay because we're running behind as it is.
I've always said Paul was always outstanding in his field.
Oh boy. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So that evening, I guess you had your cuisine experience, and we had a cuisine experience too out in Pagosa Springs.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So
you guys tell yours first.
Gary and Paul and I were staying in and Alvin were staying in Pagosa Springs that night. So we had a drive of about 45 minutes or maybe an hour to get back to Pagosa Springs. And it's like 9 or 10 o'clock by that time, and there was nothing open. So we walked.
There was that bar thing. We're like, oh, pizza. And then we went back to the pizza place, and it was like a bar, and it was so loud. I couldn't hear anything.
I remember we were just all looking at each other, like trying to concentrate with the music blaring, and we're just like, this is not going to work.
Yeah, we sat down for a minute, and it was like Joe Bob and his band were playing that night, and they were all friends in this place. And I guess they must have been friends with the people that owned the place or ran the place, because they didn't really have any interest in knowing whatever these strangers that walked in looking like they'd been chasing trains all day wanted. So we went to some Mexican food place in town that said it was open till 10. And we walked in there at about 9:25, and the lady, we waited for a few minutes, and finally someone came up to the little desk, where you walk in, and she's like, oh no, we're closing early today. I'm like, what do you mean? It says you're open till 10. She's like, oh no, we sold a lot of food today, so we're closing early or something. I didn't understand. I did not understand what the hell she was talking about. So we ended up there. The only place open in that entire town at 9:30 was a McDonald's. So we ate some real crap that night. And it was just not a good scene. And we woke up. Oh, Trevor, you had an interesting.
You guys ate in Chama?
Well, they tried to.
Oh, yes. We ate in Chama.
Yes,
I wish we had McDonald's.
Only one train came through Windy Point. Everything else was stuck up on the pass still at the summit. So we went down to Chama because we were staying in the bed and breakfast. Did my camera just go away?
Were you at the Gandhi Dancer bed and breakfast?
No, we went to the Victorian.
I think it used to be the Gandhi Dancer, wasn't it?
It did, and now it's
It's owned by John and Veronica Bush. John was the ex president of the Cumbres and Toltec, and I know John because he was the ex engine house manager of Roaring Cat. So, Lauren,
nice place.
Tell the story.
Okay, so yeah, we got back into Chama at 8:30 after we were waiting for all the trains to come back from Cumbres, and then they never came. So we got back at 8:30, and we were trying to find places to eat, and we saw this place called Local, and we're like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, and it's a pizza place, and it looks like a pretty not hipster, but pretty modern thing. There's actually young people there, which is weird, and they had tap or beer on tap and stuff like that. And we're like, oh, this will be good. And they closed at 9. And it was about 8:30. And about 3 or 4 groups ahead of us, they're like, hey, we have 5 pizzas left. And we're like, oh no, it begins. And so they get through the line a little bit, and then there's 2 groups ahead of us. Then they announce hey, we're all out of pizzas. And they're like, oh, but we do have salad. And we look at the menu oh, there's steak. We'll get the steak. And they're like, we're out of steak, but we can add chicken to any salad. And we're like, we're not doing that. We're not having salad for dinner. I'm sorry.
Chicken salad.
Yeah, chicken salad. It's food, but
2020
it's
hindsight,
salad for dinner.
That was probably our best option. 2020 hindsight.
Yeah. And then I think it was Walter Scriptunas was also there trying to get food. Yeah, he was also there, and so we're all like, oh dang! So we kind of teamed up with him trying to find places to eat, and so then we went to a bar that had a kitchen allegedly, and we get there, and it's this really very local bar, all the local people hang out there, and the kitchen's closed. So we're like, okay, well, this place looks kind of fun anyways, so let's find somewhere else. And then our last resort was Subway, which was allegedly open till 10. It was allegedly open till 10. It's about 8:45 at this point. When we get there, it's completely closed. There's nobody there, pitch black. All the seats are turned up. No cars around it. Closed. And we're like, okay, now what? And across the street is the only grocery store in Chama, and they close at 9.
There's a gas station.
There is a gas station. That would be, I don't know if that's better or worse. But it's such a small supermarket that the hardware store is attached to it. There is a wall. There's no wall dividing them. It's the same store. It just has a hardware store attached to it. So we get in there, and they're trying to close, and then there's all these foamers, and they're desperately trying to buy their dinners. So it's us and Walter Scriptunas running around trying to find ready to eat foods, because we don't have a microwave in the bed and breakfast, so we can't really make TV dinners or anything. And I think we were originally going to do jerky and chips, just the worst, most dinner of champions thing you could find. And then I had the big brain idea, oh, they have Lunchables, I'm getting Lunchables. And so my dinner ended up being a Lunchables, some jerky, and a lemonade. And then I think Trevor found one of those pre-packaged sandwiches that comes in the triangular box.
From a very well-known company called
Market Sandwich.
Market Sandwich.
Market Sandwich. You know it's a good quality. Oh god.
And then we went back to buy the apple chips, so we had
I went back to get apple chips for dessert. Yeah.
And the chocolate bar that melted later.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks about the chocolate bar. That was the worst.
We all feasted like kings that night, I guess. Yeah.
I'm glad we're not the only ones that had trouble finding food.
That's
at least you had hot food. I have Lunchable pizzas.
I always pack everything. Because that happened.
We weren't experienced. We didn't know. And that local place ended up being really good because we ate there for
we had it for lunch.
But it just they didn't prepare for the amount of people that were going to be there.
They ran out of food. Yeah.
Even the stupid grocery store was closed.
Pagosa Springs is bigger than Chama, and even it, was crap.
Yeah, that first place we tried though was a real bust, wasn't it? We walk in, it's I put my earplug. Remember I said I carry earplugs? I put them in when we were in that pizza place.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, we need to move on because we're going to run out of time here. I got people want to come on, but I don't know if we're going to have time.
We're going to have to make part 2 next month of this.
Yeah, or something.
We'll get through this part of your guys' trip through Cumbres if we can. I don't know. How many days were you there?
No, one more day.
We're getting close. Yeah, we're getting close. So the next day, which is what I was thinking was on the day we were just on, we went early to Chama and saw I got a video of this. We saw them steaming up, and I took a video of this because it was the 2 wood burners that I mentioned earlier that I'm not sure that these 2 wood burners had ever run together, but you can see them steaming up on the left side. And there was actually quite a lot of action around the yard that morning as they were getting.
George is in the middle.
That's George standing there, Bogota, talking to someone. And then, I don't know who that is, some homeless guy. and then later on, we went out to a grade crossing. That was actually a really nice shot. And this was the phone shot that I got at that crossing. Now, when are you ever going to see that again? Right? And our friend Dave Adams was actually on this train. In 4K, you can see him. That's him hanging out. Did you see the guy hanging out, taking the video? There he is hanging out.
We actually
out the side of the thing.
Lauren and I actually got to run into Dave Adams that night, too, the night beforehand. We went back down to the yard after the wonderful dinner. And Dave Adams was down there and was gracious enough to walk us around the roundhouse. And he had a load of knowledge about that since he's scratch building a Chama roundhouse for his layout right now. So he showed us all the different parts of the roundhouse, and he was extremely knowledgeable. And we ended up killing about an hour and a half down there waiting for the other locomotives to come back at like 10:30 at night.
Right?
I think my favorite picture I took with anyone was the one that I took with Dave. Because I was like, hey, Dave, let's get a selfie. And he was like, okay. And then he did the bunny ears behind my ear. And it was fun. He was a fun guy.
Yeah, Dave's one of my favorite guys around here. So sometimes he's watching these shows. I'm surprised he's not watching. Anyway, so that day was kind of weird because they ran the wood burners out, and we caught them in a couple of different places.
An hour and a half after the first train.
Yeah, they were running. We
went ahead and chased the regular train. I'm really glad we did that.
We felt that because of what happened the previous day, we knew that they were going to be running a little behind. So we got out and chased the 487 on the regular train. And sure enough, we were right. They were late. Yeah,
the wood burners left about an hour and a half later than they were scheduled to leave, right? They were supposed to. And so the rest of us, Alvin, Gary, and I, ended up chasing them up the hill, and they got to a place, I think they got as far as a place called Cresco. And they got held up there. And we were at another place that was further up the line. So we didn't get to see them again after a couple of shots that we took. And it was too bad because these guys ran out of time, right? Trevor, Paul, and Lauren caught back up to us at this crossing. I think it's just west of Windy Point. I don't know if they call it. Do they refer to that as a Windy Point crossing? I don't know.
It's the crossing below Windy Point.
Yeah.
It's the last public crossing before you get to Cumbres.
Right. So that's where we were. And we waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And there was nothing was happening. So these guys had to take off. And Gary and Alvin and I were kind of like, you know what? We're tired. We've been going for 11 or 12 straight days at this point. Like I was describing earlier, up late, waking up early, staying up late, waking up early, not eating the best food as we could just talked about. And so we're just like, you know what? Okay, we're just going to go then. And on our way leaving, we ran into this, which was, I found out later, this was the locomotive that they sent up to rescue the train at Cresco. And so it was going to be a long time before anything happened. I think we were pretty... Isn't that a nice consolidation, though? I think we were pretty happy with our decision to call it a day at that point. So we went back to Pagosa Springs, and it turned out the word on the street, as it were, on that day, the foamers were saying, oh, they ran out of wood. They didn't run out of wood. They had plenty of wood. What happened was a component in the Eureka broke down, and they weren't able to get a draft on the fire. So they had to cut that short. So we went back. Trevor and Paul and Lauren flew home that day, right? I don't know. Did you guys get anything else happening or no?
We saw the same thing you did, the 425 coming up to rescue them. We didn't get out. Paul just got some pictures, I think, and we wanted to. Well, we were at the same time this was all going on. The airline that we were flying out on had delayed our flight, and so they kept changing the time back and forth on the flight, and they didn't know whether we were going to leave on time and we were going to miss our connecting flight if they delayed the first flight. So we were just going to bomb to the airport because in case we had to catch an earlier flight or something. I mean, it finally ended up working out, and they actually changed the gates around so we could make our flight, which was really nice. But about the only regret I have from that whole thing is not going down to Cresco briefly, because it turns out that they actually cut the Eureka off and pulled the train into the siding with just the Glenbrook, and that would have been really cool to see. Because the whole time it was always the Eureka on the front of the Glenbrook. It would have been nice to kind of see it by itself, but oh well.
I would also like to have gone down to Cresco, because that's a spot on Dave Adams' layout that I would like to see. Because
It was
I've
just
seen
a
it.
madhouse down there, though.
Yeah.
There was
Oh, I
people
bet.
everywhere.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that kind of wraps up what happened at the Cumbres and Toltec. We went back to Pagosa Springs, and the next day, I don't know, do you guys want to hang out while we finish up? Because there's only a couple days left on our trip.
Oh, we'll hang out. I have nothing else to do.
Okay. Right? You're just at school. What else could you possibly have to do?
Oh, there's a train passing.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I have
I
actually
live,
muted
so
4
my dorm
units.
is right next to the Brooklyn sub. So trains pass like every hour or so.
Yeah.
I've
And there's
muted
currently
4.
an SP patched unit that runs on the local that has the original SP paint still, and I'm very happy about that.
Cool. And Michelle's muted. How many, Michelle?
I muted 4 trains during this show tonight outside because we don't need horns while we're listening to whistles of steam. So
Yeah. Anyway, I do want to mention that I really enjoyed the wood burners, because it reminded me of those replica engines that they have out at Promontory with the single chime whistles. They just sound cool and they look cool. And I just like colorful steam engines. I never knew I liked colorful steam engines until I saw the ones at Promontory. And you know what they call them, Alvin? You know what they call those colorful engines?
Oh, the painted lady.
That's right. They're painted ladies. So anyway, yeah. So we had to go back to basically all the way back to Sacramento, but we were going to go back through Arizona on to California. Well, I guess we must have gone through Nevada at some point, right? Or did we skip Nevada? I don't even remember. But the next day was really a travel day for us. We got up really early, and we had a professional driver. So we drove past the Four Corners, and we stopped at, they have a little monument there at Four Corners where you can stand supposedly, on all 4 states at the same time. I don't know that I necessarily believe that it was actually the line where the boundaries are, but they said it was, and it was fun. So
no, that's actually a what do you call it? Geologic survey marker there, John. That is the actual place.
Oh, so it is. Oh, good.
Oh,
I feel better about it then. I thought it was just some tourist trap, you know.
No,
But
that's the real thing.
it was really cool to see that because I've always heard about Four Corners, but it had never been there to my knowledge in my life. Maybe when I was a little kid, but I certainly didn't remember. And driving across, I think it was Arizona, we saw a very interesting right-of-way just to the north of the highway that we were on, and found out later it was an old right-of-way that used to be electrified, and it was used for a mining operation out there. And I knew about it, but I had forgotten the name of it. A friend of mine actually documented them on some of their last runs, so that was kind of cool to see that.
I think it was called Black Mesa and Lake Powell or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Something like that. So anyway, on our way, we drove all the way out to Mojave that day, and we saw a bunch of trains on the way. Driving through Arizona, we stopped at, what the hell is that place called? Flagstaff, to eat our lunch. And Michelle caught us on the webcams. They have the Flagstaff, what do you call that? Virtual rail fan or something? So we bombed the virtual rail cams.
Yeah, I get a phone call. These guys are like, pull up virtual rail fan. So I pull it up at work. Look at you guys.
Yeah, I caught it.
I don't know how to share it. It's on my Facebook page if you guys want to go look it up. But yeah, there's a picture of these guys waving at the camera.
We also caught a really cool BNSF train going through there that, it's funny. Heath just brought up a question about whether Alvin brought his chair. And we thought about that.
I wish I did. I wish I could have.
You should have brought the chair. You should have brought the chair and the unicycle.
That's the chair right there.
I think we need to start a fan club for your chair, Alvin.
Yeah, I'll start a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Start taking it places with me.
There you go. So I do have a train that we caught out in Barstow or near Barstow. If you guys would like to see that, I'll show that real quick on our way to Mojave. I'm not kidding when I say that we saw probably somewhere between 15 and 25 trains on that line between Flagstaff and Barstow.
Yeah, this was at Daggett.
Okay, Daggett. That's near Barstow, though, right? Because I know we went straight.
Right.
Yeah, we went straight.
About 10 miles outside of Barstow.
This is where the UP breaks off and goes to Vegas.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just, you've seen one of these trains, you've kind of seen them all. It's just a stack train. I'll let it run while
the shot we did before this one was at Newberry Springs.
Yeah, I did not include that in my share stuff here, but we ended up the day, we got it was a strange fast food place in Barstow. It had a drive-through, but it was like a Mexican restaurant, but they also had hamburgers. It's kind of a strange place, but it was one of those sort of local places. I don't know about everybody watching, but when we're in a place like this, if there's a local flavor, restaurant or whatever, I don't know. I always think it's better to stop at local places because you get an idea of what's there, right?
Yeah, and I was like supporting the local community if I'm coming to visit them. So yeah, I think it's great.
I thought that was a good choice. And it was decent food. It wasn't horrendous or anything. And it certainly was better than what we had the night before in Pagosa Springs, right? And we ended up in Mojave that night and stayed at a Motel 6, which I do not recommend even to the worst person on the face of the planet. Now, I don't know about you, Gary, but the room that Alvin and I stayed in smelled like it had been smoked in by a dragon for about 1,000 years. And it was awful. I woke up in the morning and I put on my mask because we were going into the grocery store and it said face mask required. I put my mask on and I'm like, oh, it smells like a bar.
My room didn't smell and yours was supposed to be non-smoking, but the mattress on the bed was just atrocious.
Well, I mean, it's Motel 6, so we don't expect that. And we also don't expect coffee.
And I did get a good night's sleep.
They yelled at us for trying to fill up the cooler with ice.
Yeah, they had an ice machine.
You get one bag. Chill out. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, the woman in that place was really a very customer service oriented person. She yelled at Alvin, and I didn't even, I'm just trying to get ice for this thing. This might even be the one I had, right? And I walk in there and I start filling that up, and I hear this yelling from behind me, and I didn't even know someone was in the office. She's like, "You can't use your own cup," or something. I was like, "Okay, shit, lady, leave me alone." I didn't know, but she was really mad, and it was after it had been filled up. Oops. So
I think she was related to that gal that was in the Cheyenne Depot.
Oh,
they might have been cousins or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was funny because she yelled at me, and after she was done yelling at me, I looked and there was a sign on the ice machine that said, "Don't fill up your own cups or coolers," which Alvin was just in there trying to fill up the cooler. So that was real fun. But we did catch some train. This was actually an interesting day because it was a Monday, and normally on Mondays nothing runs. Really, in most places, they call it Maintenance Monday, right? Even there was a guy on a BNSF train that day that was off the train going to take a picture of himself on the rail cam, the virtual cam at the Tehachapi Depot.
He was like, "Hey, come look at me. I'm on the camera."
Right? So he even called it Maintenance Monday because Alvin's like, "Hey, when is the train going to get to run?" Because we were waiting for their train. They were parked there waiting in the hole or waiting at a red signal for whatever to happen. And he's like, "Who knows? It's Maintenance Monday." So we got lucky though, because there was actually a fair amount of action on the line that day. And I did put a couple videos to share from that. And this is like we're getting down to our last stuff here, guys. This is Mojave in the morning. And I wanted to share this because it had an interesting set of power on it, if I remember right, if this is the one. Yeah. This was the first or second train that we saw that day, and this was still in Mojave. I thought that was pretty cool to catch a KCS unit. You don't see those out here very often. And then from there we drove. Basically, if I remember right, I think we caught a westbound train that was headed down the hill. And we caught it. We chased it down to Tunnel 2, and we caught it at Tunnel 2, which I don't have here. But then we went out to Edison, which is just east of. Let me bring it up here, just east of Bakersfield proper, and we caught this. This is the train that we chased down the mountain. And this is one of those kind of where you've seen them all trains. So I'm going to bring the next one in.
The unit always looks like that.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
But they don't want to sit in that one, so they put it as the second one. That's why.
Yeah, probably. And then we caught a train going up the hill, and we caught it up at Caliente, but then we went up to the loop. Or you know what? Actually, this might be the loop before that. I don't remember now, but I wanted to share this video because this is a train on the loop. If this is a westbound, this was on the way. Oh, no. I can see it off to the left. This is actually the eastbound that we chased back up the mountain. But I wanted to show this because recently they built a viewing platform at Tehachapi Loop. And this is the view from that viewing platform. And it's kind of a long clip, so let me fast forward through a little bit. You see it coming up. It came around the loop there, and it's going around the hill, and it's going over itself right now. And this is what I wanted to mention. From this angle, at this official viewing platform, you can't even see the tunnel. So while it's kind of cool because you get views like this, where you can see the train is basically, doubling up on itself, but you can't see it going over itself, which I thought was really the more interesting part of Tehachapi Loop, is being able to see it going over itself through the tunnel. And you can't see that from the viewing platform. But I assumed that when I heard about this viewing platform, I assumed that they closed off the area that I would normally go to, which is a hill to the right of this viewpoint that we see right now. Well, we walked up to that hill and it's all a path now. And someone even put a picnic table under a tree out there on the way to the hill that I was thinking of going to. So it turns out, and I don't know what the story is with that property there. I always assumed that we were trespassing going up to that hill, but it actually seems like a maintained path now. And had I known that it was open at this time, I would have just gone up to that hill and caught this train going over itself through the tunnel. Anyway, that isn't what we ended up doing, but I did want to share this shot because it's from that viewing platform.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a good, I guess it's a good shot still, but it's just nothing like the other one. And after that, to be honest, I think we drove up to Tehachapi, and that's when the traffic really was stopped. And if I remember right, was that a BNSF train just now going?
Yeah. This is the train that was stopped at Tehachapi that the guy got off.
Right. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So they ended up stopped in Tehachapi, and it got dead for a few hours at that point. So I think we went back to the place we were staying and checked in that was in Tehachapi. That was the Best Western in Tehachapi, which I would recommend, actually, unlike the Motel 6 in Mojave. The Best Western in Tehachapi, I've stayed before, and it's a pretty nice place.
The pizza place is really good, too, for dinner.
Yeah, we had pizza that night, which I'll get to in a second. But I do want to mention that afternoon, or I guess, late afternoon, we went back out and caught this really great shot. For people who are familiar, I'm going to turn the sound off so that I can narrate this. But for people who are familiar with this, let me just give it a little volume. That's monolith in the background. There's this great big, I don't know what it is. I think it's a quarry or something. And the sunlight at this time
it's a cement plant, John.
There you go. The sunlight at this time of day is just really striking. This is like almost the perfect 3/4 view. There's not really a lot of shadow going on. And later on in the, a couple hours after this, or maybe, about a couple hours after this, we ended up just east of Monolith. Let me find it. And caught this during golden hour, which it was just a really cool time of the evening, I guess, to be catching these. And what's cool about this shot, that industry that you saw in the last shot is behind me now, or behind us in this shot. And there is just, look at that curve. Like, how often do you get to see a curve like that with an unobstructed view? This, I think, Michelle, this is one of those places where if you had a nice telephoto lens, you could zoom up to the train on that broad sweeping curve and get some really cool shots if you were
with
on
some
the
light
wrong.
and a curve in the same.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said with the light and the curve in the same photo.
Well, you could if you were there at the right time, you could do that. But this is what I was trying to say, is that this is a place where I would sacrifice the light to get the curve.
Okay.
Yeah, because the sun typically in this area is on the right side of the screen. So that would put us on the wrong side of the track. For anybody who's just, tuning in now, we had a conversation earlier on about being on what we call the right side of the track, or the correct side of the track.
The light side of the track. The light is the right side.
Yeah. So anyway,
cool.
I think that might be the last one that I had to share. That's the last one that I had to share. So that's all I wanted to share from clips from our trip. The next day, we just woke up and drove back to Sacramento, basically. I mean, we did see some trains on the Mojave sub there. That's between Mojave and Bakersfield. And we saw some more trains on, I don't remember what that other sub, the Union Pacific between Bakersfield and Stockton. What is that, Gary? Is that the Stockton sub or Fresno sub or something like that? I think it's, oh, you're muted. I think it's named after one of the towns there.
It's the Fresno sub from Fresno to Sacramento. I don't know what it is between Fresno and Bakersfield. It might still be the Fresno sub.
Yeah. Well, we caught some trains. I mean, we saw them as we were driving up the highway. We didn't really stop for any. We did see one that had Alvin's name on it off to the left side. That was, we should have stopped and you could have showed them your ID and taken a ride in the locomotive probably.
Yeah, I could have. Don't you know who I am? Pulled that card. This is
Exactly.
me. Yeah, I could have done that.
Yeah. A.L. Gilbert.
That's me.
Yeah. Well, it is too.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it. So then Potato was so happy when Gary got home. That was the best part of the trip, getting back and seeing Potato's little tail wagging 100 miles an hour. That was great.
We tried to run on the Goofy Gary layout, but he pulled out a train that he forgot he was pulling out, and it shorted out.
I really have to apologize. You know, after I talked to you about that, I realized it was real simple. I sent that locomotive out of the yard heading for the Y, and I had it lined onto the leg of the Y that you have to reverse. And mine is a manual reverser. So it ran into the section and it shorted out. And I'm Goofy Gary, and I just was befuddled and didn't know what the hell was going on. And I tried everything. All I had to do was throw the switch and the layout would have run again.
This is why garden railroading is so much easier. You just plop the train on the track with the battery and it goes.
Dead rail, man.
Yeah, that's okay.
Except Gary would disagree with me that garden railroading is easier. Isn't that right, Gary?
Well, when you get to my age, it's harder.
That's not what I heard.
I did get to see Gary play the piano, so that was really nice.
That is nice. I don't think I've heard him play piano live.
I didn't know you played piano. That's cool.
Oh, Gary's a man of many talents.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I do a lot of things, but I'm a master of none.
You're good at falling out of the bed, though, and making a bunch of noise.
That I'm good at, yes.
How many days total was your guys' trip, the three of you?
Mine was 2 days less than theirs.
It was two full weeks, basically. I left on a Wednesday morning and came back on a Tuesday afternoon.
Okay. Well,
So
that's awesome.
that was
I started
a long
Thursday evening, Friday morning.
Yeah, it was a really
Tuesday night.
It was a really long trip. I don't know that I've ever been on a road trip that long. I don't think I want to be on one that long again. But for the right event, here's the thing. At least from my perspective, I was happy with everything I got every single day of the trip, no matter what it. Now, maybe it had to do with having a good attitude also, because I actually wanted to be there, right? You don't want to get stuck on a trip with someone who doesn't want to be there. Trust me, I know. But even on the travel days, we saw really cool stuff, right? Because on the travel day from Elko to Elko, we saw some really cool stuff. We stopped at the Elko yard and saw some cool trains there. Just as an example, right? We saw the Zephyr headed westbound. Those were cool catches. I'm not going to go through the whole trip, but every single day had something like that. Even our trip from Greeley all the way to Durango, it was a really, really long day, but we caught trains in Antonito. We caught that one on its way to Antonito from Alamosa. That was a completely unexpected treat, right? To catch that SD70M. I thought that was cool. I don't know that I don't think I would have done anything differently. It was tiring, but very satisfactory. I mean, the amount of material that I got from this trip was such that I'm probably going to have enough content, material wise, to fill up almost through the end of this year. I'm guessing maybe it will be through the end of the year. So it was just a really great trip. And, hanging out with these guys the whole time, it was nothing but laughing practically the whole time. Michelle, hanging out with you that day was nothing but laughing practically the whole time. It was just, I had a great time. And I'm really glad that I do these Chasing Trains videos, because it's almost like family videos, but with your friends, So I'm going to have the whole thing documented on video. And I'm really glad that I get to share that with people on YouTube. So it's going to be great. Well, go ahead.
We ended up putting 3,700 miles on the car.
Yeah.
For the whole trip.
That's awesome. I love road trips. When I grew up in rural Nebraska, because my class was 2 kids, my dad would take us out of school for like 2 months at a time, and we'd go, because he sold farm equipment. So we would do these month-long road trips around America. And so maybe that's where I got my love of travel. I don't know. But I love a road trip because you find the unexpected thing every day. There's always something. Always something. And if it's a train, even better.
Yeah. Guys, we ran a bit over, and I want to wrap things up, but we have someone that's been waiting a really long time, and I want to get him on here because he's been waiting so long. So is it okay with everybody? Are you guys okay with bringing on someone before we go? Okay. Robert, thank you for hanging in there.
Hey, Robert.
I was, I wanted to bring you on because last time you had some pretty cool stuff to share. What's on your mind? Oh, can you hear us? I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, I know what's happening. He has the YouTube.
He has the YouTube open in another window. Another thing I've learned.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
did you turn YouTube off?
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Let me mute him. So what's going on, Robert, is you have YouTube open in another window, and it's confusing you because there's a little echo and a delay. He'll be with us in a second.
I see Jennifer says road trips with me are fun. Road trips with me are an adventure because there's always something that happens, and we just deal.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Yeah.
There you go.
We got you, Robert. We could hear you in the first place, but you had YouTube open, and it was causing a loop that makes it hard to hear.
I'll reply to Jen.
I'm gonna feel bad because he's been waiting so long in the basement.
Yeah, your trip was fantastic because it brought me back a lot of memories.
Oh, good.
And it was just it was just fantastic.
Oh,
and it sounds like you did some zany things. And yes, I remember the Motel 6 you talked about. That's why some of the gang, we called it the Motel -6. So, it's one of those things. And it's I know.
Oh, he's just hearing the part here. Let me mute Robert for a minute. Robert, when you get that sorted out with closing the window, he's going to hear this in a minute when YouTube catches up. When you get that sorted out with YouTube, close your YouTube window and talk to us on the StreamYard page, and we'll get back to you. But does anybody else on the call have Alvin have a recollection?
Alvin does.
I have to get going because I have an appointment.
Okay. Tell Phoebe I said hi.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Alvin.
Sorry I have to leave so soon.
Yeah, I think I have to head out too. I have to go move to my apartment.
Thanks, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
We'll a real fan together sometime.
Maybe so.
You could be a Steve
Thank you guys.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
Bye, Michelle.
So you're gonna split Chasing Trains up into like four different parts, or what's?
Yeah. So what's happening, Paul, is I already have the first 2 episodes edited, and the TSG Train Crew has links to them already in 4K. I'll send you links. You're an honorary member of the TSG Train Crew.
Paul needs to be an actual member of the TSG train crew.
Well, that's up to Paul. I mean,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Robert.
Okay.
We could hear you before, but you were confused because the YouTube channel was coming through your ears when you were trying to talk.
Well,
But-
yeah, I mean, I was getting double everything, so I had to use my phone to listen to you guys.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
to
anyway,
answer,
like I was saying, is
Oh.
that your trips and everything were fantastic, and I know you laughed about the -6. So yeah, my brother used to work up there in the yard up there to the borax line to get the borax stuff. But I got an email from some of my buddies saying that, hey, they got a table up there, and you mentioned it up there at the Hatchby. I said, oh, I guess the rail fans are now taking over that one spot. It's very rare. But your pictures of the vintage locomotives was just fantastic. Where in the world can you see all those locomotives in one spot?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. And up here in Washington, we have lost 4 railroad museums, and the only one that's going right now is the Northwest Railroad Museum up at Snoqualmie, and they just rebuilt a Northern Pacific switcher, the 924. So that's going to be out. And when you went to Laramie, did you go a little further down to see the big ribbon rail factory that Union
No.
Pacific? Oh, you missed it.
didn't know
There's
about
a-
it.
Well, yeah.
Though to
Yeah,
be
there's a
honest,
walkthrough.
yeah, to be honest, that day we were a little pressed for time. Like I was surprised we were stopping in Laramie at all because we wanted to get out to see the preservation work in Cheyenne that Mike panel does. Which, by the way, Paul, you were asking the question a second ago before Robert got back on of what's going to happen with the episodes. And so far I have 2 episodes edited, and it's only 4 days into the trip. So I'm expecting that it's probably going to be 2 days per episode. And then I've got 2 layout tours. One is the N-scale layout that we talked about early on. One is going to be the Colorado Model Railroad Museum that I got my pickup shots from, right? Not B-roll, but pickup shots. And then I have the video that I shot with George at Soundtraxx that I just edited yesterday that turned out really well. I have a video that I shot with Mike Panel about his projects that I edited that also turned out really well. So, and I haven't even thought of what I'm going to do with all the Durango and Silverton footage, which could be its own video, and the Cumbres and Toltec footage, which could be its own video. So Green River could be its own video. We got enough shots of interesting stuff there and to your point, Robert, because I didn't mean to cut you off, but you kind of cut me off when I was answering Paul's question before. But I wanted to mention to you, because you said something that I think is worth doubling on, which is you said, when can you see that stuff? And the answer is, if you get a chance to see anything like that, do it, because you never know if it will be the last time you have that chance, because these things go out of service all the time and they're very expensive to maintain. Like, for example, we had the 2472 up here in Niles Canyon, and it hasn't run in 5 years now, guys? I think it's been at least 5 years, maybe 6 years.
6 as of last weekend.
That's what I thought. It was the 6-year anniversary for Labor Day, wasn't it? In
Labor Day
2015.
was the last day it ran, or
yeah,
I can't remember if it was Labor Day or that Sunday, one of the two.
So it would be easy for someone who lives in the area to say, oh, this happened to me. I'm not going to go see that locomotive. It'll run again. I was doing something else that Labor Day. Guess what? It hasn't run since. And, who knows? It might run again. I'll believe it when I see it. That's just the way I am. I hope it does.
Well, they brought the air pump to test at Roaring Camp, so
Yeah, they're actively working on it right now. So
yeah.
But
yeah,
John, I wish you could have went to the Georgetown Loop, because that's where the number 12 and number 15th of the West Side Lumber Company.
Yeah, I've been to Georgetown. Loop. Actually, I have a video up on the channel from when I was there years and years ago. and I think the train was pulled by a Shay that day. I don't remember which. Did they have a 14 and a 12 there at one point?
It was the 14, but those engines are no longer there anymore.
Yeah, one of them's at the Colorado Railroad Museum.
Colorado Railroad Museum now.
Well, my story is that when the Denver Convention was going on in 1991, I got a chance to go up there because I worked on the number 12 that was there.
Cool.
And I to go along, I tell them, oh yeah, number 15 has this quirks, and number 12 has this quirks. He goes, well, if you know so much about it, why don't you come up in the cab? Okay,
Yeah, don't twist my arm.
No, don't twist my arm. And the guy goes, where did he go? And I said, I'm up here. And I got some great shots of that. And also, we took the ski train up to Moffat Tunnel, and all of a sudden, here comes the door shut down to do the smoke thing. Then it opened up, and everybody got the camera going. Hey, something's coming through. It was a Sperry rail car coming through, doing rail check, and it was great because that's up there at Grand Junction. But when you saw the Big Ten, that's amazing. I never seen it at that height because I was on the ski train and we went around. And when you went around those cars, you got a vast view of the valley like you never seen before. And I was taking photographs for scenery work. And Tehachapi is our old stomping ground and all that bit, and the Cajon Pass. And if anybody goes to Cajon Pass, you got to go below Sullivan Curve to the Blue Cut, because that's where I get these ribbon counters to go, you can't stack your railroad like that, where one's on top of the other like a pancake. No, go to Blue Cut. You'll see that there's a railroad down here and a railroad up right above it. And it's just a little bit of cliff in between, Yeah. Many times I've operated and all that bit, up here in the Northwest. It's amazing that, you guys got some great shots and all this bit. And Michelle has a great sound system with her, real sound. She has to mute.
Oh yeah, here at the office. Yeah.
We have it at our Edmond station where our railroad layout is. That is soon going to be disappearing here. The landlord kind of gave us our lease, so yeah, we're going to be leaving there. But we're at the station. But if you ever get a chance to get up here in the Northwest, there's some great, interesting operations up here. Go to Harbor Island. That's where they do all the barge traffic for the Alaska Railroad. There's a lot of locals running around, and you got a big mixture of Sound Transit, Burlington Northern, UP, just back and forth. It is one big giant. It's worse than driving on I-5. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, thank you for all these. I thank you for all these photographs and all that. That just brought me back memories when I went to Denver and all that bit and everything.
Well, that's why we share, right? I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I went on this great trip and then not show anything. That would suck. That would be a short show too. But it would give you a chance, Michelle, because you did a whole bunch of stuff that, sorry, I knew this was going to happen. We ran out of time for your.
Oh, we'll do them later. No,
yeah.
So since we've done all this, I did another big boy chase. I actually rode with the steam crew for a while. I watched them put it all away in the yard in Cheyenne, which was really cool to see. And then I went to the Powder River Basin and rail fanned coal and learned all about the coal industry and the mines. So that could be something of its own later.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle. Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
We'll have to revisit that on the next. I have the calendar here, Michelle. Our next show is October 20th. So anybody watching, I don't know if we're gonna end up.
You could run extra too,
Oh, do one before that?
Yeah, why don't you run extra?
It would have to be on a Sunday.
I mean, you have so much Michelle has so much and everything. You should run an extra.
Yeah, an extra section.
Michelle's leaving town again for 2 weeks.
Yeah, she's going to be gone.
And then I'm going to have even more stuff because I'm doing the whole Milwaukee to Green Bay thing for 1 week.
Oh my God, she is so much in demand.
Well, what I was going to say to Michelle What I was trying to say to Michelle is that I watched some YouTube videos on some of my friends did, and they were amazed there down there in St. Louis when the big boy was coming through. And they said it has never ran that south before.
It's never
And
been
they
to
had-
New Orleans, so
Yeah.
that was new.
There's a beautiful shot where they staged it right outside the tunnel in St. Louis, and they had the arch.
The arch. Hmm.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Now that's a rare right there, rarity, because those things just stayed on the Cheyenne district.
Yeah, Dave Hammer's saying the 1988. So my favorite diesel is the 1989 Rio Grande. It has been for a long time, and there's long stories with that. But they happened to put it on with the big boy that day that they came to Greeley last week. And
The only thing I got to ask John is, the only thing I got to ask John is that after you were at Green River and all that bit, you spent a little time there. Did you get a chance to head on over to White Rock Brewery, where they make White Rock?
No.
It's right there, right on the road towards the station.
in Green River? I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, I didn't see that. What ended up happening, Michelle, that you were saying?
Oh, no, I just, he was just saying the 1989, I watched him cut it off the train, and then I watched it like pull right up to us in the back end. And then it was Dave Hammer. It was like, he went to him the next day.
Yeah,
So,
I saw that picture and I thought, how did she get a picture on the track like that? And then I read the caption and it said you took it from the back of the car.
yes, I was in the one nice room. I'm like, I am not standing on rail. I swear I would never do that. So.
Yeah, of course. No, of course not.
Being safe.
Yeah.
And I had
I've
3
got
points
to
of
head
contact.
out here now, but I'll watch
Okay,
from the
Paul.
chat. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, thanks, Paul. Nice
Thanks for
to
coming.
Adios.
talk to you
Yep.
guys. We need to
Nice
wrap
to meet
up
you, Paul.
anyway. So,
Yeah, you too.
Bye,
thanks for
Paul.
being on.
I'll see you on Saturday.
Oh, he was in such a hurry. He just left. He
What
really
can I
had to
say?
go
He
to
wanted to get away from me.
No, he really had to go to the bathroom. That's what it was. We really should go, but I want to bring on someone that's calling in because I know who it is and I want to hear what he has to say about the show. So welcome, Alex. Then we're going to go.
Hey, John.
Shortly after that. Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
Hey, Gary, Trevor, Marcel.
Hello.
And Robert.
Hey, Robert. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, John, I heard that you went on an extraordinary trip with Gary, Trevor, Paul, and Alvin. And I must say,
And Lauren.
And Lauren. Yeah.
Lauren too.
And Michelle was there for part of it too. Did you just tune in? We just spent the last 2.5 hours talking about that trip. You'll have to watch it.
Yeah, I just tuned in. Sorry about that.
You'll have to watch it on the replay. We did a whole show all about that trip. It was quite something.
Wow. It really was. You know, I was planning to attend the Victorian Iron Horse Roundup, but again, life happened.
Oh, you gotta hate it when that happens, huh?
I haven't seen it too, Alex. I didn't make it down there because life happened to me too. I did. I had to be here, so I missed it too.
Are you going to be in Colfax Saturday?
Oh, yes. And I'm also going to ask for 1744 donations for the Niles Canyon Railway.
Yeah, you're gonna have a table, aren't you? I thought I saw you post something to Facebook.
Yep,
that
I
you're gonna
am.
have a table. Oh, why don't you plug that? People watching might want to know about that
plug
event in Colfax. Yeah, plug it. Tell people what's going on.
Okay, so this weekend on September 18th and 19th, there's this Railroad Days Festival in Colfax, California. It's called Colfax Railroad Days. It happens every year in the month of September, usually either the second weekend or the third weekend of September. And they have like all these kinds of food vendors, community organization, model trains, and even some Union Pacific locomotives on display too. And of course, the UC, the UP, and Amtrak trains go by there. And this Saturday, they're going to have they're going to have like some sort of a street dance party on Saturday night. And I've been to Colfax Railroad Days for the last 4 to 5 years. And this time I'm actually going to be part of it by supporting a railroad. And I'm really happy of doing this weekend. I did it on the 4th of July in Niles, and I'm doing it again this weekend. So excited.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure that the guys at the people at Niles Canyon Railway really appreciate the help raising funds for 1744. Sorry, Michelle, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying that's fantastic. I'm glad you're going.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It looked like
I'll try to make it up Saturday. Say hi.
Okay, Gary. I mean, it would be good to see you again. I don't know. It's been like so long since I've seen you, and John, of course, and Trevor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw you, Trevor was there too. It was up at Niles Canyon, wasn't it? Trying to remember, what was that? Remember, Trevor, you came up there late in the day?
I bombed up there to see the Skookum at the very, very, very end of the day because I was working that day.
That's what it was, yeah.
No. I came the following day, which is Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Saturday we were up there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I came on a Sunday. Mm-hmm.
That became part of Chasing Trains, didn't it, Trevor? Remember, I found that amazing treat for you and in between the cars.
I was just about to say something about that.
Excellent.
Well, that was cool because that was the first time I'd seen the engine since I'd actually worked on it up in Oregon. So it was kind of nice. Brought back a little bit of PTSD from that, but it was okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Trevor, you know where it was sitting for a long time?
Well, it sat at Snoqualmie for 20 years, and then it went to Rainier for a little bit.
Yep.
And then
I used to run the number 11, and we had to go around the boiler to take
the Skookum debris field.
Yeah, in the debris field, or as we call it with the roundhouse called the rapid hutch. That was a fun engine to run. I kept that thing good while I was in the military, and then around 92, I had to be transferred down to Lemoore for my retirement. But yeah, I remember that we cataloged and made sure we had all the parts and all that bit, and everybody said, "Oh, it's not going to leave. It's not going to leave." And I'm sitting there going to one of my buddies, says, "It's going to leave."
Well, I'm glad that at least it got rebuilt. Scott and the guys up at OCSR did a really good job on that.
Oh, they did a fantastic job. Beautiful.
I was lucky I got to work on it very, very, very end. But I wish I'd come up a little bit sooner here to the school, so I would have gotten to work on it a little more. But it was great to see the end of it, so to speak.
Well, the neat part is they researched the original color, and it's beautiful. That green and all that from Baldwin. It's fantastic. I mean, they did a fantastic job.
I'm going to say something about the green, and then we got to wrap this up because we're like almost an hour over time here. I do want to say that I really like that green color on Skookum. I think that might be the prettiest engine sitting up at Niles Canyon right now. Just the look of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know I know it's finicky to run and they have to work on it a lot, but it sure is pretty. So anyway,
we always used to call it the articulated prototype. It is a prototype of an engine that really never got mass produced. So it's going to have flaws.
Yep.
And two throttles.
Inherent flaws of the design that you're not going to be able to overcome. It is what it is.
This brings us back to the beginning of the show.
Okay, I'm glad we could bring it full circle.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite color, John?
There you go. There you go. It's just pleasing to me. I don't think of things like that consciously, but green must be it. Green must be it.
Well, John, my bucket list is I want to try to make it to the Niles Canyon.
Well, if you ever get out here, get in touch with me and I'll take you up there. I have a key to get in the place.
Okay.
So do I.
My late dad used to take me up there when they just started.
Cool.
And I want to take homage and memories of him when we went up and saw it. I heard they're doing great guns up there.
Yeah, get in touch with me when you're out this way, Robert, and we'll make it happen. So
you also got to go to Roaring Camp too.
Yeah, I know a guy at Roaring Camp that can show you some cool stuff too.
I know you guys go there and see a geared engine really work.
Yeah, I know a few guys at Roaring Camp. Come to think of it, so.
Well, I lived in San Jose, so I know where Roaring Camp is.
Right.
When I was young.
Cool. So. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to let you go, Robert. Thanks for calling in. I always appreciate hearing from you.
I hope to see you on the 20th.
There you go. We'll see you then. Thank you. And Alex, thank you for calling in.
You're welcome, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You Sal, Trevor.
The Union Pacific's coming. If you actually want to hear this one, I won't mute it.
Okay, we'll let that one go.
Yeah. Do we have anyone else who's called in or no?
There's no one else who has called in.
Okay.
So we're
There you go.
That is cool. Trevor, if you want to hang out, and Gary, if you guys want to hang out, I'll bring you back up after the credits roll. But I'm gonna.
I have a dog to feed.
Okay, thanks for coming, Gary. I appreciate it, and thanks, Gary. Thanks for the trip too. Really appreciate it.
No problem. It was a lot of fun.
Great times. You take care.
Bye,
I'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Bye, Gary. And I think I'm going to probably head out too because I have homework to do and I got to eat.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like I need to eat too. So, and I got to be up early because I'm going somewhere tomorrow. So
yeah, and I have a plane flight tomorrow. So
cool. Well, thanks, Trevor, and thanks for the invitations to the shop tour and also to Mike May's layout. Both of those were really cool. It was great to see you guys all out there and get. It
was nice to not be working on a train. It was nice to get to go back to my roots and remember why I like it so much.
Exactly. Get some foaming done, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Cool. So thank you for being there and for calling in tonight. Really appreciate it.
Take care, John. Bye, Michelle.
Bye.
Adios. All right. And I guess that means, it's just us, Michelle. Just the way it started. Speaking of full circle. So I do want to thank you, Michelle, for being here again. I know you get busy and it's always nice to be able to catch up at least once a month, right, on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think it's fun. I really look forward to this. It's the one thing I do, the one show I love it. So, and I like everybody on the chat. Thank you guys for chatting. I love it.
I wanted to mention that thanks to all the chat moderators too, and to our top secret producer who actually ended up having to leave because she had to be Uber to someone who was visiting here, but they're gone now. So, but I also wanted, since you're here, I want to thank you for taking us out for that day of rail fanning too, and for hooking me up with Bob to finish the layout tour. I think that it's going to be a good one. I still haven't had a chance because I'm just buried in this avalanche of stuff that I need to sort through. And what I've basically been doing is as I get through the Chasing Trains episodes, I'm catching up with whatever else happens. So the next Chasing Trains episode is the 2 or 3 days that we were in Greeley.
Okay.
And so after I do that Chasing Trains episode, I think I'll move on to the layout tour after that. So I'll have something for you to preview and for all the train crew members. I've mentioned the train crew members a couple of times on the show. I used to do these things called banners like this that direct people to the Patreon page, but I kind of don't really do that anymore. And I don't know why. It just never seems to fit with the conversation. But I do want to mention to anybody who's still watching that, and for anybody who's watching on a replay, that if you're interested in supporting the work that I do here, I do have a Patreon page, and you can give like $2 a month or more, whatever you can afford. And it helps with, being able to go on trips like that and documenting and preserving all this stuff to share with the world. Oh, and you get cool stuff like
your coffee cup.
Yeah.
And I just bought a really cool t-shirt that you guys will see in my Powder River stuff.
I saw that. Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Trains. But, now that I think about it, Michelle, you got a shirt too, didn't you? A train crew shirt?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
I do have a TSG train crew shirt.
Okay. I couldn't remember because I thought sometimes you wear that for our shows, but you weren't wearing it this time. So I forgot.
Well, I'm at work. So I'm at work.
Yeah.
We're Colorado Model Railroad Museum today.
Yes. Speaking of shirts, I still need to get a CMRM shirt from you. Did they ever come in?
Yes. And would you like green?
I just probably. I didn't realize I do, but apparently that's what I like.
We ordered green and black and blue.
Cool. Well, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for watching.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. And here come the credits. Thank you, Michelle. I'll talk to you sometime soon.
See ya.
Bye.